Or do I have to start over? We can hear? Okay. Sorry. Sorry. I had my interface set to the wrong type of microphone. All right. So I'm going to see real quick. There's an option here where it says that I can share a Chrome tab. So if I share it, let me make it a little bigger there. I do not know if this is suddenly going to take over the whole screen or if I'm going to still be in there. Let's see. Oh, I in the so let's dive into this, I guess. Or wait, I just I left my phone in the bathroom, I think, and I might need it. So all right. I'm just chilling in my PJs, basically, in this new Stranger Things shirt I picked up at Target. It's a season 2 one, so of course I had to do it. All right. Yeah, I don't know if I could make my video bigger, but it looks like I'm there. So I'll maybe just keep referencing back to the trailer video here and maybe exit out and then put it back and exit out just for reference. But yeah, so let me try that out. So if I stop sharing, okay, now it's just me, right? So all right, so we'll get into that in a minute. I'll do a little intro here. Say hi to everybody we got going on. Also to give a disclaimer that I am getting over being sick. So I have been experiencing a lot of nasty phlegm. So I really hope that that does not happen throughout this live. But if it does, I really hope that I'm not yakking up stuff on this live. So fair warning if I end up like choking randomly and need to drink water or cough. I got some tissues over here too. But yeah, hope you feel better. Thank you. I am feeling better. I was much worse before. And I thought I was like perfectly better, and then suddenly this morning I started like yakking up a lot of nasty stuff, and I was like, "Oh no, I have to talk for like 2 hours today." So, all right. And I also like just washed my hair not too long ago, so it's in the process of drying. It's a little bit wet. All right, so let's take a look at the chat. So thankfully we can hear me, so that's good. And you can see me in the small window when I share the screen, so that's good. We got someone who just said season 2 sucks. Just kidding. It's okay. Well, you had me in the first half, not gonna lie, as they say. All right, the setup is good. Here we go. So Stranger Bird says, "Hey Britt, question for later. You mentioned you have Stranger Things scripts. Are you maybe planning on doing a video about what's different? I only read first scenes and it was already a little bit different." I have the goodness. Since I'm poor, like most people these days, I think, I just I just splurged on the season 2 book. Priorities. I was like, do I have enough money right now to order all of them? no. So I'm gonna go for season 2. Um, maybe someday though I'll get the others. I would like season 1 at least. Um, but yeah, so I just have that. I actually haven't taken a super close look at it yet. I have skimmed and I too noticed a couple lines different here and there. I'm more interested in reading like uh all the stuff in between that sort of fleshes out the scene and like the way that they um envisioned it in between all the dialogue. So I'm interested in checking out that. Um So let's see. As a Brit, I miss visiting the US and heading into Target for random Stranger Things stuff. Yeah, I actually missed the window for when they had that really cool display, I guess. So I went there looking for stuff and it was just all scattered all over the store at that point. So I was like searching around for things. I didn't know where anything was. And I ended up finding this one. They had like a random season 2 shirt and it says it only gets stranger, the old uh season 2 tagline with Hopper and the Pumpkins. So it's technically a new shirt for me at least that I picked up currently. So I figured I'd wear this one today. Um Hello all the way from Uruguay. Wow, hello, Nicholas the Brave. Um do do do. If people hate season 2, they're in the right place. I feel like you spelled wrong incorrectly there. They're in the wrong place. Um, let's see. Hey Britt, when I was watching Stranger Things 5 with my sister when Kali was revealed, I instantly thought of you. Thanks. Um, yeah. I got a lot of comments and messages from people like friends and family as well that were like, "Oh my gosh," like I watched it and immediately thought of you at that moment, so it's kind of funny. Um, let's see. I have the season 1 script and just ordered the season 2 one, getting one every 3 months roughly because 'cause we're all on a budget now. Yep. Um, all right, so the most recent thing is Steve most likely dies. So I think it's time to get into I think it's time to get into some discussions here. So let's just break down the volume 2 trailer. All right, so time to share this tab again and let's break it down. So
We failed.
we have
We never stood a chance.
Will saying we failed, we never stood a chance. And obviously we're picking up right at the end of Sorcerer here. Um But we have Joy saying it's not over, not by a long shot. Um, I I'm a little bit not confused by this, but, like, it's not like he actually fought him yet. It's not like we actually fought Vecna yet, so I'm not sure why we're in a very defeatist state. Um, but, you know. Uh, so then we got the awesome shots here with the Diana Ross song, Upside Down. Love that. And I also love the way they paired it with the footage kind of perfectly. We have Mike looking up when it says up. We have side when the footage is on its side, rotating, and then down, them looking downward. I really love that. I'll mute this just to be safe. Yeah, and then this is interesting, right? Dustin saying everything we ever assumed about the Upside Down has been dead wrong. Yeah, so let's pause. Let's pause it there. I okay. What do we think they mean by this? Because I don't think everything they've ever thought about the Upside Down can be dead wrong. Um, I'm just wondering what exactly brought upon this revelation. Um, perhaps I don't know. Like I'm like I gotta say, like when it comes to certain theories, um, I'm actually really not not confused necessarily, but it's been really hard for me to sort of formulate an idea of where the show is actually going, which is kind of crazy. Um, a lot of volume 2 is truly a mystery to me. So, um, let's see. I think the "It's not over" line yet is more about Will feeling defeated about not being able to save the children. True. That thought did cross my mind as I was saying that, but I was like, "Maybe we'll save that." Um, yeah. Oh, right, because the children were being dragged away by the Demogorgons and everything. So that is true. Um, all right, let's get back to just me here for a second. I think it might be about who is truly in control. That's Royal Maestro 25. Uh, yes, that is definitely a possibility because we have not seen our boy, the Mind Flayer, yet. We have not seen Shadow Monster Mind Flayer yet this season, and we know he's back. We know he's back. From some of the stuff we saw in the trailer with the particles, and not this trailer, but the other trailer, but we still see some stuff that looks a little bit particle-y in this trailer. And we know about the Mind Flayer being on a lot of the season 5 merch. So we know he's back. So let's see here. Upside Down is actually the real world and they're in an alternate universe. Imagine. I don't think that is it. But I think there is still something to be said about the Upside Down bleeding into our world again. And the whole thing with Dimension X and how that fits into it, if that's like a buffer dimension between the real world and the Upside Down, and if that all starts, if Dimension X breaks or whatever, and then that causes this to happen, I don't know. Um, so but yeah, about who's truly in control, that could be true. But at the same time, Dustin is the one saying this line, and he's the one who had originally thought that Vecna was the Mind Flayer's 5-star general. So I'm not so sure because that was their original theory. Yeah, there's something very unsettling about this season. Watched it twice and still can't pin the feeling down. Yeah, I think when you say unsettling to me, I think it is also just like this weird feeling of like something being off, like a little bit. And I don't know if that's the writing and then the performances on top of that, which we kind of talked about a little bit before. Um, I don't know, but somewhat agree with that. I think they are just about to learn about the Upside Down being more than just a spooky photocopy of Hawkins. Right, because there is the whole thing we talked about, well, a little bit talked about, or that we didn't actually get to talk about in my last live about um, the Upside Down, like the wall being a perfect circle, like the Upside Down just being suddenly now this circle. enclosed by this strange wall that we still don't know much about. Um, so there's that's different. We still haven't completely explored at all, really, the concept of it being frozen in time on November 6th, 1983. That's still something that we haven't really explored at all so far this season, which we know is obviously something very important that they're probably saving for volume 2 and the finale, and we know that some sort of time travel is definitely happening with all of the talk of A Wrinkle in Time and everything, Back to the Future references, all this sorts of stuff. So, like, volume 2 and the finale is about to be so jam-packed that I genuinely there is part of me that is not sure how they are going to include everything and successfully, wrap everything up. Um, but we'll see. I have faith, but it is a very big undertaking. With, so many reveals left to go, um, and so many, things to uncover about this dimension. And it is interesting because it makes you, or at least it makes me feel and hope that whatever they do reveal doesn't, I don't want to use the word ruin, but, completely demystify the Upside Down so that upon rewatches in the future, nothing is really, as mysterious or as engaging because we know everything about it, you know? I hope that obviously I want to know, but at the same time, you want there to be a little bit of mystery still left over to keep things interesting upon rewatch, or they do it in a way that makes rewatches even more enjoyable because you know what I mean? I hope they strike a good balance with that. Because you don't want to give too much away, right? Like, let us know every little detail, but I feel like they might do that. Um, to me, the Upside Down is Dimension X, but Vecna did renovations to mess with Will's mind. Huh. Renovations. It's his house. He fixed up the place, decided to make it look like Hawkins. It's a time snapshot or a prison nest for something. I think they're about to make the Upside Down scary again. Because it is true, they have gotten very lax with the Upside Down, right? I've seen a lot of people point that out. Everyone's just chilling in the Upside Down, It's like, people mentioning, you remember when they used to have to go into the Upside Down in hazmat suits? Like, remember that? Yeah. Blades of Munch says that wall is so sus. It's like when spiders hunker down and hide and stay still. I wonder if the Mind Flayer is hiding in plain sight. Maybe. Also, my cat has decided to be a menace today. I don't know what's going on with her. She just has decided to start running amok and being weird. She doesn't do this very often. But she's kind of getting her zoomies. She's going to start scratching at my posters. I bet you anything. That's what she does. I hope she doesn't. Evie, what you doing? Huh? Oh, she is looking to get into trouble. Oh, Evie, calm down. Oh, don't do it. I don't know what she's doing. Anyway, I would hate to lock her out because then she's just gonna try to bang down my door. And I say this all the time. Every time she tries to knock down my door, I say she's trying to knock down my door like a demodog. Like, that's literally what she does, like the demodogs in season 2, trying to knock down doors in the lab. That is what she does to my door. She throws herself at it. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so we're gonna ignore her for now. Hopefully she doesn't go crazy. Let's see. I have a question, maybe a dumb one, but isn't every portal to the Upside Down a wormhole, like, technically speaking? Very true, right? Because you're technically heading into another dimension, another time, or whatever. And it is very interesting and took a little bit to get used to this season with the Demogorgons just able to jump anywhere and rip a hole open and skedaddle. That's been a little bit weird to get used to. Just suddenly just gates opening everywhere any old time they want. It's a shame the first shadow was made outside of the show. I feel it was too important and there's no time to tell all of that in the play and yeah, that not everybody can see it either, for sure. What is she doing? I don't know what she is doing. She's gonna try to jump on top of my door or something. She does not get like this very often, so this is just oh! Here she goes. She's gonna walk along my bed or something. Oh my gosh. Alright. Yeah, I feel like they're gonna there she goes. Okay. Alright. Evie! Do I have to kick you out? This is ridiculous. I'm just trying to carry on as normal when I got like a crazy monster cat just like contorting herself around my room. So let's see here. Yeah, about the first shadow. I think we will probably see a little bit more of that. Because they gave us that little Hawkins 1959 tease with Max. So I think they might be able to explore a little bit of that. Probably not too much, but enough to sort of fill in those of us who haven't been able to see the play. Let's see. And that was something else I was thinking earlier of the style of storytelling. I kind of miss when they used to do flashbacks, like telling the story through flashbacks, which they did give us that in season 4, like with Henry and like him as a kid and all this stuff. But what I mean, this is kind of like a not unrelated, but tangentially related, thing here. I kind of miss when they would sort of be telling us a story in real time, right? But leave out some details and they'll just show us something and we'll be like, "Well, wait a minute, like how did that come to be?" or whatever. And then in the next episode or something, it'll start with a flashback and they'll give us context for something that we just saw. And then it's like, "Oh," and like they kind of drag you along that way throughout the story. Like they did that a lot in like the first half of season 2 with Elle's backstory over the course of, between seasons 1 and 2 and how she ended up with Hopper and all that. They sort of told us that whole story through these little flashbacks, and I really liked that. I liked that style of storytelling, and I feel like they haven't done that as much since. And they did a lot of that in season 1 too. Like we learned a lot about Elle's time in the lab in season 1 through flashbacks. She'd see something and experience some PTSD, and then we'd go into her memory kind of, and that's how we would learn about that. So I feel like they haven't really done that style of um storytelling since season 2, I wanna say, aside from, like, straight up flashbacks of Henry, but that's not exactly what I mean when I say flashbacks. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about, like, flashbacks about our characters and stuff, and, like, being able to tell a story that way. It keeps it linear, but leaves a little bit of mystery along the way and is constantly, like, giving you questions, but then giving you answers, and giving you questions, but then giving you answers, and I kinda like that. Um, I don't know, but we'll see. That's just like a random thought I had earlier today. Um, with the reveal of Vecna in season 4, they completely destroyed the interesting mystery. I'm hoping we go back to the Mind Flayer. Yeah, I think we are. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. Um, yeah, all the parallels to, um Will, I think that they've been making have been interesting, which, would lead you to believe that Henry has been flayed, this whole time, which I still think is the case, and that we will discover that in the coming episodes. Uh, I agree 100%. I know the Duffers want to use all the carcass, but I hope they leave some bones unturned. Yeah. Um Yeah, I agree that they've become too comfortable with the upside down, but they had to expand on it eventually. Yeah, it wouldn't have been practical for constant hazmat suits. I mean, agreed. But yeah, I guess we just have to sort of assume that the um environment maybe was not as toxic as they had originally assumed. That's maybe what we gotta assume here. Um, but we still don't know exactly long-term effects of being in the upside down. Will was in there for a week or so, and it obviously was a lot for him. It's cold, right? We know that it's cold there, and, it must not be that great to breathe and everything. He looked pretty ill, by the end of his week in the upside down based on everything about it. So, maybe these small little stints into it that our characters have taken is okay, but trying to actually live in there is not. But then again, now we see the military is in there, but if they're in a building, so maybe the building is safe, there's air in there where they're okay. I don't know. Um, I just tell myself that our world is bleeding into the upside down more, so it's less toxic. Yeah, it's like a mutual bleed, right? So maybe our world is becoming more toxic too, though. So who knows? Jamie Campbell Bower appeared as Henry Creel on the stage play this week. I did see that this morning, um, which was kind of awesome. Yeah, he was on stage for the ending portion. Um, yeah, that was pretty cool. Apparently, like everybody went crazy. Um, very cool to see. Um, So let's try to catch up here. I feel like Vecna promoted the demos, giving them new power, but not too many. So they can open portals. Um, and I love the way everybody's just calling the Demogorgons demos now. That's like a new thing in season 4 suddenly, which has also been like weird for me to adjust to. Like suddenly everybody has just agreed that they're demos. Because I guess it's like it does save time speaking, like constantly saying Demogorgon would be, you know, a mouthful. Um Yeah, it's like they're doing more exposition dumps since season 4, and it's a bit much. I do agree. And I think we talked about that a little bit in my last live, that it's affected the writing, and then it's affected the performances, right? So the writing feels a lot different than it used to because there is so much of just sort of plainly saying things, if that makes sense. Like, they're all just sort of, like, talking and, like, just saying stuff about stuff, which then makes it difficult to sort of act that, because it's like, "Okay, well, how do I really act this?" 'Cause it's not there's not, like there's not a lot of motivation in what I'm saying, there's no emotion really in what I'm saying, I'm just sort of saying things. So I think it is affecting some of the performances where it just sort of feels a little bit stilted at times. Um, so it is weird, and it that has I feel like that has caused me to not want to rewatch season 5 as much so far, because it does sort of feel like I know I'm just gonna be sitting through a lot of, like, explaining again, and I feel like once you understand it, rewatching it is a little bit tiresome. Just a little bit, because it's like, "Okay, like, you're explaining a lot to me, and it's like, I get it." You know what I mean? And now I gotta, like, sit through the explanation again, is, like, sort of what you're watching when you rewatch. So that's a little bit weird, because I feel like rewatching previous seasons, um, especially for me, season 2, I do rewatch season 2 a lot. Um, the the enjoyment comes from the story being told, through the character interactions and through the style of filmmaking and all of this stuff. That's what keeps it interesting and keeps you coming back, and so everything being so sort of plainly stated and plainly shown a little bit is kind of causing, like, a weird, um, sensation upon rewatching. I don't know. Um, yeah, I think they'll fill in a lot of stuff from the play so no one will be lost. Um The Duffers in interviews asked if Stranger Things cast might visit their new spinoff. I have no thoughts about the spinoff. Again, like, I don't know what it's gonna be. Um, I know Finn correctly guessed what it was, I guess. But they have said that this is the end of the main story of Stranger Things, and our characters are not gonna be present, in any future spinoffs. Yeah, I'm surprised Netflix didn't put a pro shot version of the play on there. Maybe they're waiting until Stranger Things is over to do that, and that's a way that they'll be able to get us to, like, watch more content afterwards. They're saving that for that, maybe. Um, because I find it very hard to believe that Netflix would not professionally film the live play. I find it very hard to believe that they would not take that opportunity. Um, yeah, I feel like there's so much potential for flashbacks relating to the 18 months between seasons 4 and 5. A lot of the dynamics that are established in the intro of The Crawl. Yeah, exactly, right? And I feel like that's like a cool way of storytelling, but I don't know if they're gonna suddenly start doing that halfway through the season. I feel like if they were gonna tell the story that way, they would have already started doing a little bit of that. Um, let's see. I wish Max had a flashback episode rather than explaining everything she's been through. Exactly. Exactly. That would have been a good opportunity to do that. Like, maybe they show us, like, that would have been perfect. Like, so the cliffhanger at the end of episode 3, right? would have been Max saying hi. And then episode 4, we would start, maybe the cold open would be a flashback of Max navigating the mind world and everything, and maybe how she first ended up there, and or, finding her way to this cave, hiding from Henry, that sort of thing. That would have been awesome, and I feel like that would have been way more interesting, right? Like, if we're just sort of dropped into this story with Max, and then we're back to the present with her and Holly, and then whatever, and then maybe we learn a little bit more through another flashback, like, that is a more interesting approach to storytelling, I think, than what they're doing, which, you know, whatever, but let's see here. I like mystery crumbs too. They are important for continuous engagement and world building. Exactly. Um, it's interesting to me that when the demos and Will felt pain due to the flamethrowers, but Vecna didn't and was able to kill the soldiers. Yeah, that's something else I've been thinking of lately. I don't know. I don't know if it is just like inconsistencies or what, but I was thinking, so are we just, and I'm sorry if this is a dumb question and I'm completely missing something. So are we just being led to believe now that Will's that that they never, because they did say this, that he's like, I don't think we ever fully severed the connection between him and Vecna and the Mind Flayer and whatever. So are we just supposed to accept the fact that Will is just connected to it, even if he's not being like actively flayed, like even if the Mind Flayer particles are not currently in him? Like, are we just supposed to accept that his time in the Upside Down and whatever else happened has, like, created this permanent connection between him and the Upside Down and Vecna and everything? I'm thinking that's what we're supposed to think, because his experience right now in season 5, what we've seen so far of him, feeling what the hive mind is feeling and everything, is exactly what he was going through in season 2 while the Mind Flayer was actively inside of him. Um, so it's kinda crazy to think that he's basically experiencing the same exact thing as season 2, except the Mind Flayer is not in him. Like, that's how strong his connection still is. Um, that's kind of interesting to me. So I don't know if that's like, if he is still flayed somehow, like, they didn't get every single piece of it out of him actually, or because he also did explain, we know that it's proximity based, right? He explained that when he was in California, it went away, but now that he's back and he's fully near Demogorgons and the Gate and Vecna, that it's super strong, so yeah. Um Let's go back up here, and I think I'm gonna finally have to dive back into the trailer because we were kind of breaking it down scene by scene, and then we just kind of paused 24 seconds in, so we're off to a great start. This is totally not gonna take 5 hours. Um, alright. Alright, there's a lot of stuff some people are saying that we will get to perhaps in this as we go through the trailer. Um, let me just catch up. I miss season 1 and 2 style for sure. They're both masterpieces. If they put the play on Netflix, no one would buy tickets to see it. That is true. So, like, but, they ended up putting up, the pro shot of Hamilton or whatever eventually. Was that after it was already finished its Broadway run? So maybe they won't do that until the first shadow is done on Broadway. Um Yeah, that's why Max's delivery felt stilted because it's hard to authentically narrate that kind of thing. It's true. And again, I feel like they could be doing more show don't tell. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's something they used to do on the show was they used to actually use visual storytelling to tell us the story, you know? Now it feels like there is a lot of just telling, and not as much, using the visual medium of a television show to tell us, you know? Um, all right, because it's weird. Every time I move the chat, it'll like jump down to where it currently is, and then I have to like move it back up again. Um, all right. Yeah, the way season 4 ended with all the smoking clouds, it was a slight disappointment for it to just start with, "Hey, we're chill. The military's around, but it's all good." Yeah, that was weird. Like, I find it hard to believe there were maybe no flashbacks they could have shown us about that whole situation, but again, they told us everything in Robin's exposition dump in episode 1 of everything that happened basically over the last 18 months. Um Okay. All right, now I'm caught up, I think. So I'm assuming Vecna's implantation changed Will's body and blood composition while he was in there. Brenner probably used Henry's blood for the new numbers. Yeah, that's got to be what it is, right? The whole incubation looking thing, that is something that we're realizing now, has caused a very real connection. But then that's kind of weird though, right? Because then does that completely render season two's storyline kind of pointless? Like if the connection was always there and it wasn't necessarily the mind flayer particles that was doing it, you know? I don't know. Uh in my head, if Vecna slash Henry dies, the mind flayer is using Will as his next human form. Yeah. But again, we've kind of seen that already, so I don't know. Vecna will probably reverse use Will's powers on his friends. That's when he screams run. Yeah, and like maybe Will is aware of that. Like he knows that that's what Vecna's trying to do and he's telling them to run. Like maybe Will is going to have to be fighting those inner demons a lot of, in volume 2. Um that's my that has been my prediction for a while now that volume 2 is not gonna be smooth sailing with Will and his newfound powers and abilities. It's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be, okay, I have these abilities now, but it's layered, right? It's like, how can I use these abilities without Vecna knowing? How can I use these abilities against him without hurting myself even, maybe, right? I think there's gonna be a lot of that to sort of work out, and also the fact that he is still probably definitely a spy. You know what I mean? So anytime the gang is, like, trying to come up with a plan, which I know they released a clip where Will is present for them coming up with a plan, but I feel like something's gonna happen where maybe they come up with a plan and it's immediately foiled by Vecna because they realize, "Oops, Vecna can see through Will pretty much and is gonna know everything they can do, or everything that they plan to do." So, I think I still think this, that Will is unfortunately potentially going to be incapacitated for a lot of volume 2, and I know that that's not what a lot of Will fans want to hear, but I think at least just based off that one shot we got in the first trailer of him just completely conked out on the couch, very similar to how he was in season 2 when they had to keep putting him to sleep. I think we might be seeing a lot more of that. And the fact that, the Duffers have said that The Spy is possibly the most important episode, going into season 5. You know what I mean? I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more of this complication of Will being a spy. And and I think they have set it up where the fact that they had them, stock up on so much of those vials of whatever it is that puts people to sleep that they used on the Turnbows, odds are they have a lot of leftover vials, and they're gonna have to use them on Will. It's gonna come in handy. They're gonna be like, "Oh, crap," because I think Will is probably gonna be possessed in some way again, and they're gonna realize this, and it's gonna be like, "Oh, crap. We gotta put him to sleep again. Oh, look, we still happen to have a backpack full of stuff we used on the Turnbows. Looks like we gotta use it on him." Um, that's something I predict. Who knows? But that's just kind of what I see happening. Uh, and it's gonna be a weird balance of like, okay, obviously Will has powers. We have to be able to use him to our advantage. But how do we do that when he's also a spy and, he's also has this connection to Vecna? It's gonna be tough. Um, you know? So that is something I have been thinking about a lot. I think both Will and Vecna are equally connected to the hive mind. Vecna simply has more expertise and is higher up in the Mind Flayer's corporate ladder. That's true. Because again, we go back to the whole Harry Potter Voldemort type thing, right? I'm interested in seeing how that sort of dynamic plays out. Um, I wonder if Will's blood type changed. It would have come up. Oh no, I assume if Will's blood type changed, it would have come up like after season 2. Yeah, I'm sure they've probably drawn some blood, maybe since then, and they would have said like, "Huh, this looks weird." But yeah, also, where is Owens? Exactly, Spider-Bat fan. Like, I'm concerned about that. Surely they did not forget about Owens. Surely. Because that would be insane. If we go the entirety of season 5 with no other mention of Owens, that would be a horrible oversight. Because we last left him, like, chained to a pipe, right? By the military, and they just, like, left him there? Come on! And I love Owens. Ah. Yeah, in season 2, the Mind Flayer was in the Upside Down, and Will was physically in our world, so I think what happened in season 1 allowed the connection to begin. Hmm. Or also maybe that's because the Mind Flayer and Vecna is totally bleeding into our world, like, that's why Will's connection now is so much stronger than it was. I don't know. Um mm. If Will's Nicholas the Brave says, what that doesn't explain is why if Will's blood is what connects him to the Mind Flayer, why is Eleven, who we also assume has some type of blood tie to Henry, why does she not have the same connection? I don't know. Or Kali, right? Maybe? I mean, we don't know. It's weird. It's a different type of connection somehow, I guess. You know? And I think it does have to do with the stuff that they put into him, you know? I don't think Eleven had that happen to her, you know? So, we'll probably find out more about that because we see that happening to the other children as well, so I think clearly that's an important part of the process, for creating that connection. Um as much as I love him, I really hope they have Dustin's trauma and him separating himself after Eddie died, making him vulnerable to Vecna because he's just as vulnerable as Max was in season 4 now. In a way, yes. Because we do kinda see him behaving similarly to Max in season 4, right? Kinda shutting down a little bit, becoming a little bit short with people, you know? So that is true, and I don't know if we'll see that, but I did see some people theorize that the scene where he's hugging, Ma the scene where Dustin and Steve are hugging in that first trailer, that was actually a vision that Vecna was giving him, like, when we saw Max hug her mom in season 4 and it ended up being Vecna. I hope not. I would like for that to be a genuinely sweet moment between him and Steve. I would not want that to be Vecna. Because this is just too much, right? We only got 4 episodes left, like, to think of Dustin getting Vecna'd, and we already got one clip where it looked like Will was getting Vecna'd, and we haven't gotten that yet, so it's like, we can't be having everybody getting Vecna'd in the next 4 episodes, like, that's just oh, it's so much. Um If Will makes a "your mom" joke when asked who he is again, then he's definitely possessed. I hate that meme. Oh, because like, it ruins this really good scene in season 2. Oh my gosh. And also "He's lying! He's lying!" like shaking the bob around his hair. Oh, it gets me when people use that on Twitter. "He's lying! He's lying!" Oh, oh my goodness. Uh, I hope Owens is safe. If not, Sullivan deserved what he got. I know, and I feel like because Sullivan died, right? And I feel like his death scene was almost like a blink and you'll miss it moment. It felt very like, okay. Um, all right. Yeah, I don't think Vecna needs to target people with heavy trauma now. He achieved that goal in season 4. Mm. I think he went from people with trauma to children because of Max. He realized trauma can be overcome with proper support system. Children are wholly vulnerable. Uh, True, and that kinda leads me to another thought that I had, which was that I don't see a lot of people talking about this, that the fact that Mr. Whatsit, Henry, the fact that he gifted Holly a boombox and the Tiffany tape, I think that is significant because she's in his little mind world that he created here, listening to music, right? So she's in because okay, right? Because they established last season that listening to music, like your friends or whoever playing music for you while you're in this sort of state, that is your lifeline to the real world, right? So now if Holly is listening to music in Vecna's little world, if someone were to play music for her outside of it, it wouldn't work because it's no longer a lifeline to reality because listening to music in this world is now making that world her reality. Does that make sense? Like, you know what I mean? And I think he's doing that because he realized last season with Max and everything that they have found a loophole that, okay, oops, it looks like it's too easy for them to escape me now. They've figured that this connection, this lifeline with music is a way to break people out of the curse, right? So he has realized that. And he's like, okay, how can I earn the upper hand now with this situation? Okay, I'm going to give the kids music. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, also Holly's body is not in the right side up, so there's no physical body to play music to. True. And that's what I'm confused about too, though, because someone else says here, I think the problem is that Holly can't even listen to music because her body is in is in dimension X or upside down. And that's what I'm saying too, because it's weird that she would even be able to hear music in this mind world because it's like none of it's actually real, but it is real. You know what I mean? So it's like, is a cassette tape and a boombox actually working in this world? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's weird for me to think about. um, but I do think there's something to that. You know, why after establishing that, Lucas with the boombox and the tape, helping Max in the real world, why would Mr. Whatsit now be gifting Holly, a victim of his or whatever, a boombox and a cassette tape, you know? Um hmm. Or it could be the trapped young Henry trying to break them out. Uh, See, I don't know about that because it almost seems like a way to me, it reads more of a way to keep them in. You know what I mean? Giving them music to completely blur the line between his world and the real world so that they don't know which way is out. You know what I mean? Because that's what I mean, like, when you play the music from the outside world to someone under the curse or in the upside down or whatever, it opens that portal to the real world, but when they're listening to music in this world, it would be impossible for a portal to open to them if they heard music anywhere else because it's like, I don't know where the real world is anymore. You know what I mean? There's if that's the only lifeline, listening to music in his mind world, you're completely disoriented or whatever, right? Yeah, if they get out of Henry's mindscape, is Holly going to wake up jacked up to Vecna's tube? Probably, right? Is that where did they show her? I think they showed her. Um it sounds like people are fighting outside my house, so I'm sorry if you can hear that. Um Let me try to put voice isolation microphone mode on. All right. I just switched to voice isolation mode for the microphone. Let me know how that works. I don't know if it's going to like cut my voice in and out too much or what. But hopefully it'll make the moments when I'm not speaking nice and quiet. Um all right. Um I yeah, so I think there is still definitely something to be said about young Henry being trapped somewhere, and we'll get more into that, because I have a lot of thoughts on this stuff. The music is kinda doing the reverse of what it did for Max. It was comforting her and helping her want to stay there, whereas if it was playing in the real world, it would help Holly get out. Exactly, I think it's like him trying to keep them in somehow. It's him doing an Uno reverse on their, um on their solution that they have discovered. He's like, "Ha ha! Actually, no." You know what I mean? That's not gonna work anymore. Um, Speaking of which, what would be your anti-Vecna song? Mine would be Dog Days Are Over. Okay, Florence and the Machine. Honestly, mine would probably be Letter Bomb by Green Day from American Idiot. Uh that album changed my life. So, honestly, if you just, like, just put on the album from, like, the opening guitar riff, I would be I would be awoken. I would that portal would open. Uh, so, yeah, but Letter Bomb is my favorite Green Day song specifically, so that would probably be it. Has anyone discussed how Vecna doesn't appear to have a solid body now? It looks like he's almost completely made up of vines. So it's like the only thing left of Henry is in the mindscape now. Yeah, because that's interesting, right? Because he looks so thin now. Everybody's pointing that out, like his waist is snatched. It's just like this tiny little waist with like vines all around it. So it is interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know about that though, but that is like part of his whole upgrade. It's just like a lot of vines. Um, yeah, they also showed her with the other children, which we haven't seen inside of Henry's mind yet. And we also know that they released that clip on Spotify, right? Where like all the kids are there and they're walking into the Creel house, I think it was, right? So we don't know how or when that happens. Like all these kids, I'm assuming, yeah, the kids that we saw taken, they're all in they're all in the world there now. So we got to find a way to break them out. Um, I think Holly is breaking out because they are completely breaking Vecna's mind/illusion. He's trying to desensitize them, but it probably would be for nothing. I didn't hear any fighting. Okay, well, thanks. It was loud to me. But yeah, hopefully the voice isolation thing is working okay. If I had to choose a song that's been in Stranger Things to save you from Vecna, except Running Up That Hill, which would it be? First thing that came to my mind right away is Time After Time. Cyndi Lauper. There's something about that song. It's just, it's I think that's one of the best songs ever, honestly. Something about it. I wonder if the Mind Flayer helped put Vecna back together or if he did it himself. All right, I'm all caught up, so let's finally get back to the trailer. All right, the screen. Okay, here we go. So already pausing to talk about this. So we see that I think this is clearly a dimension door, which is something that Mike foreshadowed in his conversation to Holly in episode 1. He says that Holly the Heroic can cast dimension doors. And I think Escape from Camazotz, that episode 6, is going to pretty much be entirely well, I don't think it's going to be a standalone episode. I don't think they would pull one of those again. Who knows? Maybe they would. Of Max and Holly just going through dimension door after dimension door, trying to find a way out. And I think Holly will eventually hit a dimension door that is the door to Dimension X. And she is going to be the one falling through it that we've seen in the trailers. That's my prediction there. So let's see. So that they go through the dimension door, which is what I'm assuming. Then we have Dustin and Steve at the lab in the Upside Down saying Mother of God and looking up at this orb of what looks like Mind Flayer particles in a weird, I don't know, extra wormhole-y looking gate. I really don't know. It almost looks like a fireball, which again could be like a D&D thing. I don't know. But it does look like a weird ball of fire. So that's something. Then we have Elle back in the right side up in the radio station. Possibly, is she listening to her favorite song as she goes into somewhere to have a lifeline? Who knows? I don't know what's going on there. If she's like listening to, who knows what she's listening to. But there is an extended version of the trailer on Netflix and Tudum, where at this part, they show a clip of Kali in the radio station in the right side up as well on the other side of the window. And she's just sort of walking and watching Elle in this room with the headphones on, going into the void or wherever she's going. And Kali is there and she's just watching her a little bit sadly. So obviously this is a whole other thing we have yet to get into, which is the return of Kali. And we do get her again here in the trailer on YouTube with Elle saying, help me find him, kill him. And then we get this shot of Kali, which could have been, I'm just going to try to get it where the lighting is bold. There we go. Which could be taken out of context. You know, her facial expression here might not be directly in response to Elle saying, help me find him and kill him. However, now that we have made it to this point of the trailer, now it's time to talk about Kali. All right, here we go, because there's a lot to talk about. So okay. Let me take a sip of water before we get into this. All right. My mom is in here. Jeannie's journal. She says hi. Hi. Hello, Ma. Okay. Um, so here we go. So I have seen a crazy amount of people immediately jump to the conclusion that Kali is going to turn out to be evil and side with Vecna. And this has been getting on my last nerve. Um, for a variety of reasons. And I think it's like, it's not that I can't see why people might think that, but it is just annoying at this point that first of all, I think the reason why most people jump to that conclusion is because people hate her, right? They hate her already. So they are already assuming the worst of her. They don't like her. They don't want to have to like her. So they're just like, "Oh, she's got to be evil. I don't trust her." Right? That's immediately where they're jumping to. And obviously because of how we saw her in season 2, she was very vengeful. She did um have that sort of mission. She did share some of the same philosophies as Henry or whatever, right? But for all of those reasons, it's too predictable and annoying, honestly, to make her evil. And on top of that, the fact that she is so overhated by fans is also precisely why the Duffers are not going to make her evil. Right? Like, let's think about this, okay? Because if they were to make her evil, how would that do season 2 and The Lost Sister any favors in the long run as far as redeeming it? Because it's like bringing Kali back is one thing. Like, yeah, okay, like now, like they're giving that episode a little bit more relevance, down the line, but it wouldn't actually help season 2 and The Lost Sister in the sense of future rewatches of that episode would be even more hate filled. People would be sitting there and watching it thinking, "Oh my god, I hate this girl so much because all she does is return to completely betray Elle and everybody in Hawkins. I hate her." You know what I mean? Like, that would only give people more solid and concrete reasons to hate Kali if they were to make her evil. And I just don't think they're going to do that. I don't think that that is what they want to do. You know what I mean? And like, based on everything they have said about Kali, what they've said about Linnea, they've said that they love Kali. They love Linnea. They think that she's great. They think Kali's a great character. They love her as a character. They wanted to bring her back and do justice to not only the character of Kali, but to Linnea, the actress, as well, who has unfortunately been the scapegoat of season 2 for 8 years. So I do not think they would bring her back to make her evil, because that would just be straight up cruel to her, honestly. Like, I saw people say, like, if Kali ends up being evil, her poor actress is gonna have to go into hiding. like like Linnea would have to go into hiding if Kali ends up being evil. Like, she would go down in history as the most hated character. And I don't think that they're gonna do that to her. You know what I mean? I just do not think that the Duffers would do that to her. It would do the show no favors, or at least it would do season 2 and The Lost Sister no favors. Um, and I think they want to redeem her in the eyes of the fans. Um, and so, I think I do not doubt that her motivations and thought process and whatnot might still be layered, that it might still be morally layered to some degree. Um, but I do not think that she is going to betray her sister and betray everybody in Hawkins. That would be awful, because not only is it just bad in the sense of the writing, and like, if they are trying to redeem the Lost Sister, that's not going to help. Um, But it doesn't make sense for Kali's character arc, and they said that they wanted to bring her back and complete her arc. I do not think that Kali starting off vengeful in season 2 and whatever, and then ending vengeful, if not more vengeful, and siding with Vecna and whatever, that's not a good arc. You know what I mean? That's not a challenging character arc. That's not surprising. That's not engaging to just watch this character who was already vengeful just become even more consumed by it. No. And also, I think, going back to a lot of the show don't tell stuff that we used to get in the first 2 seasons of with the storytelling, the end of The Lost Sister, I believe, was clearly a turning point for Kali. That moment where she looks broken and she's, like, making all of these realizations in that moment of, like, "I am doing it wrong." Like, you know what I mean? Like, "I am not healing doing what I'm doing." Elle was able to find a home and people that she cares enough about to go return to and help, and I am still sitting here, you know, still desperately hoping for that, like, wanting a family, wanting to heal, wanting a better life, and I am not achieving that doing what I'm doing. Um, I think that that is the moment she had at the end of that episode, and I think Linnea said that as well, um, in the on Beyond Stranger Things. She had said that something really changed in Kali in that moment. So that is why Kali suddenly, returning in season 5, either completely unchanged from the last time we saw her or even more vengeful from the last time we saw her would not make sense to me. And I also think, let me find it. Let me try to pull it up. Entertainment Weekly, Linnea. She gave a little bit of an interview to Entertainment Weekly saying something that I think is very important here and pretty much confirms to me that Kali is not going to be the same Kali we saw in season 2. So let me see if I can share this. Yep. All right. So it says right here. This is a quote from Leia. She said, because we discover Kali under such different circumstances in this season, the cliffhanger reveal at the end of episode 4 didn't actually feel like I was stepping back into character, but instead it felt like a first reveal of the brother's vision for her in this season and an insight into who I personally believe Kali has always been underneath her various personas. Hello, right? I think that leads me to believe that the whole punk and vengeful Kali, that was a little bit of an act that she was putting on, maybe, in order to survive, in order to succeed in doing what she thought she needed to do in order to heal, right? But now finally we're going to be seeing a much more honest and sympathetic and just like real version of Kali compared to what we saw in season 2. And the fact that Linnea thinks that first cliffhanger reveal of her is like the first insight into the brother's vision for her and who she believes Kali has always been, because obviously she thinks highly of the character. I think she says somewhere up here, she says like, yeah, when Netflix reached out, she was so excited and intrigued to see where they wanted to take her. I care about her so deeply, and making sure she'd be in great hands was important to me. I almost personally feel like Linnea wouldn't even have returned to the role if it meant that Kali was going to be evil. You know what I mean? If I were her, I wouldn't have. I don't care how much money they would have paid me. If I knew that it meant that I would go down in history as one of the most hated characters and have to deal with even more hate from this fan base, I probably would have turned down the role if it meant that I was gonna receive more hate. Um, so clearly the character means a lot to her, and this whole quote here I just think is really important. And that whole reunion scene with Kali and Elle was so it felt so emotional and authentic and very, very honest to me. And so if she feels like that scene is a first reveal of who Kali really is, we are not getting evil Kali this season. Hello. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was a scene showing us that on some level, we will be getting a united front of these two sisters, right? Um, and then it is also interesting here the way the Duffers say that none of it would play out the way it would if Kali wasn't involved again. So there is still so much, like, they really are saying, like, you know, they've said that she is playing a really big role, like super integral to the plot and Eleven's journey and the overall narrative of the show. So I still really have no idea how they are going to utilize her. Um, but it I don't know. It is still something that I'm still trying to figure out, because there are so many ways, right? Like, obviously, they're gonna have to make use of her powers. She is another character with powers. They're not gonna let that go to waste. So how is she gonna use those powers? Ideally against Vecna. Obviously, she could show him some of his worst fears or whatever to try to break him down, while Elle and Will deliver physical hits towards him. You know, who knows? There's that. Um, and then what else? What was the other thing I was just thinking of? Um, yeah, so this is my other thought. So I think, because I think someone just said here, um, so I'm curious. I'm just going to see right now if I say pin message, what does that do? Oh, it just pins it to the top of the chat. I didn't know if pinning the message would put it on the screen to let people know that that's the comment I'm currently responding to. I don't know, but it does highlight it at least, so maybe that can help. But yes, Nicholas the Brave saying that moment at the end of season 2, episode 7 was truly a storytelling gem, and it felt back then like a moment that begged for a follow-up, which we haven't gotten until now. Exactly. And I feel like it's so beautiful and poetic the way that they made Kali's reveal be another sort of show not tell visual storytelling moment. I love it. You know what I mean? Like, all of the acting, all the storytelling, it's just like written on their faces with this reveal and the music and everything. It's very similar to that final moment between them in The Lost Sister. So I love it. Like, and again, it really does just like harken back to um that style of filmmaking from like season 2 and whatever. Watching those 2 scenes back to back, it feels like the same show, you know? And it feels like an emotional through line of the show. You know what I mean? And it's just mm, I love it. I've rewatched their reunion scenes so many times and I get teary-eyed every time. And so that's another reason why I say suddenly having it be Kali turning on Elle and completely betraying everybody. No, 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 no. They cannot do that. But this is when I say that I think that yeah, maybe with this comment Um, I agree 100%. I hope they don't make her too cookie cutter kind and nice. I hope there's a nuance to the arc, uh, through which she becomes important in defeating Henry. Yes, and this is my other thing. I think that they have to I think they will employ some of that flashback storytelling, by giving us I think they have to at least give us a flashback of how Kali was captured by the military and maybe what she had tried to do for herself in that time spent between, you know, the lost sister and now, like, did she try to better herself in that time? How has her outlook changed? Um, and this is how I think it might be getting a little bit interesting because with the connection to Eleven's story arc, you know what I mean? Because the Duffers say that Kali is important not only to the ending of the whole story, but to Elle's character and her arc. I think it's a little bit interesting because Elle is kind of in the same headspace Kali was in season 2, in the sense of, like, Elle is on the warpath, right? She wants to kill Henry. She's like, "Help me kill him," like, da 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 da, right? Kali might not be in that headspace anymore, and that does not mean that she is going to side with Vecna, but she is going to be a little bit more nuanced in her approach to killing him. And I think that it might be revealed through flashbacks, through whatever, a little bit about her past with Henry because they obviously must know each other on some level, right? They were in the lab together at some point. He has name dropped her before in season 4. We know that he's aware of her. Um, and because of the fact that she did share some of those philosophies, the long going theory has been maybe he helped her escape or, something like that. Um, and shared some of that knowledge with her as well. And she took that with her, but pieced out. You know what I mean? She was like, okay, thanks, bye, and like left. But did keep a little bit of that knowledge in the back of her head of like channeling the anger and whatever. But that doesn't mean that she is straight up evil and is going to use it like that. I think the other thing, oh god, I have so many things in my head. When it comes to the whole channeling anger thing. Oh god, I just had the thought and now I can't remember it. Um oh my goodness. Hang on, let me just try to read some other things and see if any of them help me jog my memory. Yeah, so Kali was only vengeful against the people in the lab and bad people. She could have killed that guy at the gas station, but she tried to reason with him instead. Yeah, so that's the other thing, right? People are taking this whole thing of like, oh, she was out for blood, so obviously she's gonna side with Vecna. No, her mission was very personal, right? She was only going after the people who personally hurt her because that is the way she thought that she could heal her wounds, right? That's the way she thought that she'd be able to heal. By the end of The Lost Sister, I think she realized, okay, this is not the way I'm going to be able to heal. This is not helping, right? So, um yeah, so I think she is going to be a little bit more nuanced in the approach of using her powers and whatever to help kill someone because I think they will reveal that she maybe does have some sort of past with Henry in the lab. So she might be the key to redeeming but not redeeming. Henry, right? Maybe reaching the real Henry that's maybe still in there in order to destroy Vecna and then the Mind Flayer or something. Like, maybe she's a little bit, again, it's not, I wouldn't say it's morally gray anymore. It's more so like she's gonna be a little bit more sympathetic to the human Henry that she might have known back then than Elle is. You know what I mean? Elle is not sympathetic towards Henry at all right now. She's like, he needs to die. And Kali is probably going to be like, I knew him maybe a little bit more than you did, or like I knew maybe something else about him that everyone else doesn't know, or like maybe like she just, I don't know. I feel like maybe she has a little bit of information that we don't know yet that is going to be helpful in maybe reaching him on a different level, you know, in which he actually could help us defeat the Mind Flayer. I don't know, because I feel like they wouldn't show us so much of Henry as a kid and whatever if they weren't going to try to reach the young kid inside or the real Henry on some level. You know what I mean? I don't think they would have given us all this backstory or whatever if they weren't going to try to do that on some level. So I feel like Kali might be part of that, but obviously will ultimately still help us, end everything. But it won't be as cut and dry as she just helps them kill him. You know what I mean? It's going to be a little bit, the journey to, defeating it is going to be a little bit more nuanced than people think. Oh, I kind of like this comment here. Wait. Yeah, that final shot of Kali and the Lost Sister said everything. Also, Kali's earlier line of, I feel whole, like a part of me was missing, and now it's not, is how I felt about her absence in the show. Kind of ironic, right? And that's how I felt too. Like, oh, like watching her reveal. I mean, at least, as someone who is a huge fan of season 2, it did feel like something was missing this whole time, and, like, now we've got this, like, massive season 2 connection, in addition to all the other season 2 connections this season, but it does just kind of feel like, "Oh, now we got this little piece back of, you know, this past version of the show, so to speak, that I loved so much, and now it's back, and it's starting to make the whole show feel whole to me now again." I totally, like, relate to that for sure. But yeah, again, she felt whole from meeting Elle, and I think she genuinely meant that. Again, her haters try to say that that was an act, like she was putting on that act for Elle. I think that was the real Kali coming out to Elle in those moments, and then when she had to go back and talk to her group, she was putting on the mask of, like, I'm the tough, punk who's leading this group and whatever, you know what I mean? So, again, if Linnea thinks that that reveal in episode 4 is a glimpse of the real Kali and who she's always been, then yeah, I think it's safe to assume that we're gonna be seeing more of the kind of Kali we saw in those scenes with Elle in The Lost Sister. Also, Millie is on the record in a new interview saying that her scenes with Linnea were more emotional, intense than the rest because Kali is one of the only characters who truly relates to Elle on that level of, I understand your trauma. We have gone through more or less the same thing, you know what I mean? And she said having another character basically to talk to about that and relate to on that level was exciting to act and, is part of what plays a big role in Eleven's journey. Um, and she even likened her relationship with Kali to her relationship with Will, of Will being another character who can understand trauma. Um, so yeah, so I don't think Kali is gonna turn her back on her sister, and it's like, what would that achieve if we're actually thinking about the storytelling here? You know what I mean? Like, how is that gonna be helpful for Elle's character arc? Like, what is that gonna help her with other than devastation and more heartbreak and more trauma, honestly, to have her sister double cross her and turn on her towards the end of the show. Like what is that gonna solve? Um, I just feel like a lot of the people who jump to this conclusion are just not thinking. We're not thinking straight. Um, but yeah, I mean, I hope I'm right. If I'm wrong, I will be extremely disappointed if the Duffers end up going an evil route with her. Again, I'm all for like a nuanced exploration of her character maybe, but I wouldn't want anything to just be I wouldn't want it to just be straight up she's good or she's bad. You know what I mean? But you know, um let's go back up here. Do you think Kali will sacrifice herself for Elle? I really don't want her to die. Yeah, this is another thing. And it's really been it's a tough one for me because another thing um that has been on my mind about it is that that's like the other big theory, right? Is that aside from Kali being evil, is that Kali's gonna die. She's definitely one of the people on the chopping block. She's gonna die. She's gonna be the side character that they kill in order to not kill any main characters and still make it feel like the threat is strong, especially now if a character with powers can be taken out. And I hate how accurate that probably is going to be. Um, and there are a lot of reasons why that doesn't sit well with me and I don't really like it. And one of the reasons is because of the character we're talking about here, right? A character associated with the worst episode of the show, a character who a lot of people just hate irrationally almost and just hate on sight because of her connection to the worst episode of the show. And looking and watching some reactions people did to her reveal, there were I mean a lot of people were excited to see her, which was nice, and people were excited to see that the Lost Sister was going to have more of a purpose in the end. But I did see a handful of people who were like, oh, get her out of here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, immediately they were just like, oh, we're doing this again? No, I was hoping they wouldn't bring her back, you know? And it's like, those people are going to be happy if she dies. And I hate that. I hate that. I resent that so much. I don't want to give Kali haters the satisfaction of her being killed off. I hate that. And excuse me, sorry. Again, guys, like I said, I'm sick. It's coming out a little bit now. And I think like earlier today on Reddit, some person literally, where is it? I will read it word for word because this is why I get mad. Someone did a post about Kali or whatever, and someone commented, quote, I cannot stand 8. I hope she gets blown to shreds before the opening credits in episode 5. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, that's exactly why I do not want her to die. Because jerks like that person are going to be celebrating. And there's something so grossly unsettling about that to me that it's like this level of hatred for her character is completely uncalled for, in my opinion. Like, where is it coming from? Honestly. Like, it is it is crazy to me. Like, because especially just because thinking of the fact that she is a victim of abuse as well. She is a test subject just as 11. You know what I mean? Like, she has gone through these unfair experiments and unfair um experiences in life, and all she wanted was to heal. All she wanted was to heal from that trauma and to heal from that abuse. And people are over here wishing for her death. And my cat is in my window right now. Hi. Evie, do not start to climb. Thank you. You know what I mean? And people are over here hoping that she dies a brutal death and everything. And it's like, that is gross. Like, that is genuinely like just so gross and unsettling to me that people would revel in Kali dying. And I just don't like that. And I don't like the idea that they would bring this character back for the first time in 8 years just to kill her. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that, and I hate that that is probably the most likely outcome. Um, but I just so wish that she and Elle could, like, have a life together of some kind, that they could be sisters, that Hopper gets a second daughter in the end, you know? And that Kali gets to finally have that peace that she has been searching for so long. But then at the same time, I also wonder, well, she is a serial killer. You know what I mean? Like she is a serial killer to some degree here. Can a serial killer um lead a normal life after serial killing? You know, I don't know. And and I feel like, well, sorry. I feel like if she does sacrifice herself, it would probably be because maybe she thinks that because of the life she's led or whatever, that she won't be able to have a normal life ever. You know what I mean? Like, maybe she will be caught and sent to prison or something for all of her murders. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? It could be a situation similar to Eddie, of how he never really would have been able to live a happy life because he was a wanted man and there was nothing that they could really do to clear his name or whatever, you know what I mean? So it could unfortunately be something like that. Like, I've already kind of messed up my life too far to live a normal one. So this is what I'm going to do. Um I don't know. Yeah, I think Kali will be pivotal in differentiating Henry and Vecna in Elle's point of view. Yep, that's basically what I was getting at. Um yeah, it does feel like that Henry might have taught her that stuff and she tried it, but it hasn't worked out in the long term, and now it's time to try Elle's path. And that's what I'm saying, right? Oh, okay. All right, so I had a sheet put up on my window because it was sunny and it was helping the light be even on me, but now the sun has set, so I don't need it anymore. So I'm taking it down because my cat was gonna try to take it down any minute now anyway. So um anyway, but yes, so uh that's kind of also what I was getting at with, now the roles are kind of going to be reversed, where Kali is going to kind of be, Evie, girl, stop. where Kali is going to sort of be in the same mindset that Elle was in season 2, because that's the last we saw of Kali, and I feel like that's what she had maybe also learned from her time with Elle, like, maybe I need to try something else. And she turned a new leaf after episode 7. And so now maybe she's more where Elle was in season 2, and now Elle is a little bit closer to where Kali was in season 2. So there might be a little bit of clashing, between their outlooks now. And it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But and Elle and maybe Elle has to be reminded a little bit of her previous line of thinking as well, because she is very much on the warpath, as I've said. So, and then that circles back to differentiating between Henry and Vecna. Let me catch up here. Been talking for a while. I wonder if Kali will at least get mentioned in the Stranger Things animated series, because it does take place after season 2. That would be nice, right? That would actually be kind of nice if they could like expand upon her character a little bit in the animated series. That could be cool. And then like maybe season 5 isn't the first time they met each other again, and maybe they could like fill in a little gap of that or something that wouldn't affect the canon in season 5. I don't know. But or just like something. I don't know, something to like just flesh out Kali's character a little bit more. That could be fun. All these connections just showing season 2 was the most important season. Yep. And we know the Duffers had our back on that. At the very least, Kali might be an important reminder to Elle about not controlling her anger, as Elle seems to be so hell-bent this season. Exactly. Honestly, all of these complex character dynamics, not just Kali, is the reason why season 2 is my favorite season. Yup. We got almost no relationship development between Elle and Will. It's not the same. Yeah, I know, and that's kind of shocking, isn't it? Like, it is shocking that like they are basically supposed to be siblings now, and they have not gotten enough development together. Let's see. Overall, I think past episode 4, there's very little room for effective double crossing beyond the potential complications of Will's role as a spy. Same. That is what I'm thinking. Like, and also I think people keep talking about like this traitor theory, but apparently that was something Caleb said about season 4, and it ended up being Lucas who was a traitor to the Jocks. And for some reason people are mentioning that again and acting like it's about season 5. I don't think that's the case. I think someone found that quote and it was Caleb in promotion for season 4. So I don't think that's like that traitor thing is necessarily happening. But if it were to, it would probably be Will with the whole spy thing and the possession thing. And speaking of that, I am curious to see if he is setting another trap similar to what he did in The Spy. Because when they're in the barn, after he paints the thing with the spires and everything on the barn wall, and he's talking about it and trying to explain it to everybody, he says almost the exact same quote he says in season 2, The Spy, about that part of the tunnels. Uh, when he's like, "I think I know how to stop him," or something, right? And then they show him the map, and he points to that area in the tunnels, and he's like, "Here." And he goes, "I don't know what it is, but I think it's important, and he doesn't want me to see there." Right? He says the same exact thing about what he drew on the barn, and he's like, "All I know is that it's important to him. He didn't want me to see it." Like, he says basically the same exact thing. And so I was like, "Is this gonna be another trap of some kind?" Like, because I feel like a lot of people didn't even catch that, because I didn't even catch that until a couple rewatches, and now I was like, "Oh, oh, no." You know what I mean? And so maybe that is something, and maybe that's another thing they meant by season 2, episode 6, The Spy being, important to this season. Like, they're maybe hitting some of the same story beats again. Like, I don't know. Um, but that I think was definitely an intentional parallel to literally reuse almost the same exact dialogue about something that Will is revealing to them like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. That was kind of telling to me. Um, but yeah, again, with past season 4, I mean, past episode 4, I don't think there's a lot of room for double crossing and all this stuff either. Like, Kali has to pretty much, her role has to be clear, because if she is dying, she might not make it to the finale episode. If I think she should hopefully make it through to the end of episode 7, and then she either dies at the end of episode 7 or at the beginning of the finale or something. So, they don't have a lot of time to play around with her being a double agent, or, turning her back on Elle, and then the ramifications of that. You know what I mean? There's too much. So, her role is gonna have to be pretty well defined right away, with a little bit of room for nuance, right? Because she should be established as good, you know? Or they might go the route where, with the nuance, they allow people to think that she might be bad, and then in the end, she was good, Kinda like the Bob effect in season 2, where, like, a lot of people thought he might have been bad, and in the end, everyone felt bad for assuming that, you know what I mean? Like, he was just good. It might be the same thing, like, people are gonna end up feeling bad that they ever assumed that Kali was evil, or would ever betray her sister, you know? Yeah, this is another thing I was thinking. It says, "Evil or die, any reason to prove Kali is a pointless and hated character by everyone in the fandom." Exactly, like, the way they're jumping to these conclusions of, like, she's gotta be evil or she's gonna die. And that's why I want neither to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I want the Duffers to challenge viewers, and I wanna really I want them to make them like her in the end, and I want them to allow her to live and have a good life, and whatever, and ride off into ride off into the sunset with Steve. I'm back on my Stolly grind, you guys. Oh, because I really can't believe that. I cannot believe that they very well might be sharing a frame. That I might be sitting down. First of all, the fact that I'm gonna be knowingly sitting down to watch a long overdue follow-up to The Lost Sister in 5 days is insane. But then on top of that, that I'm going to be sitting down and seeing Kali meet everybody else, like, hopefully, you know what I mean? Seeing her meet the gang, hopefully getting to meet Steve, and maybe just getting tiny little Stolly crumbs, you know? Little Stolly crumbs. Just any sort of interaction or whatever. I am so looking forward to that. Uh, but anyway, yes, so this that is what I mean, like, either making her evil or killing her off too early without, really allowing her to be redeemed in the eyes of the fans, right? Like, if they don't take enough time to really redeem her like that and give her something very purposeful and meaningful to do in the end before they kill her and they just kind of bring her back and she's kind of involved and then they kill her, that is not going to help the pointless accusations, right? That is going to feel like a waste if they brought her back just to kill her and not actually do anything super meaningful in the end. Um, and so that's why I really hope she can live, you know what I mean? I hope she can make it to the finale and her and Elle can be sisters and whatever, and then it just forces people to have to accept that, you know, she survived and that, you know, she wasn't bad and she helped and their hatred for her was completely misled this whole time. You know what I mean? That's what I wanna see. Um The fandom treats Kali like Hawkins treated Eddie, honestly, and it's like, why? Um, to me, if well, here's one. Well, let's see. Someone said to me, if Kali dies, 11 dies, because Elle was feeling so alone during season 4, so Kali is her end game. If she doesn't have Kali, she wouldn't get a happy ending. But that kind of goes along with what I was saying with like what would Elle gain? Like, how would Elle's character arc be positively impacted by Kali turning on her? It's almost the same thing of like, how is her character and story arc going to be impacted by Kali dying? Like, that also would result in more devastation and heartbreak for her. So, you know, because people try to say like, "Oh, Kali's death will be, um, you know, lighting another fire under Elle's butt to like, you know, take out Vecna." But I'm just, it's like she doesn't need that at this point. She does not need anything more to piss her off or upset her in order to end this. You know what I mean? Kali does not need to die in order for 11 to have motivation. So So that's another reason why I don't like this idea of Kali dying, you know, unless they can really make it emotionally impactful and really give her something truly important to do, something that only she could do. You know what I mean? It has to be something that like either her and her powers or her and her knowledge, it has to be invaluable, right? Like something that we only could have gotten from Kali. They have to give her something like that, some sort of role like that to play in order for her death to not feel like a waste and in order to evade the pointless accusations. Uh, and so if they're able to do that and she dies, then so be it, I guess. But if they're not able to do that and she dies, we will be defending her until the end of time because the pointless accusations will not dissipate. Um, ooh, my stomach is growling. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm gonna have to eat. Um, Hmm. Sorry. The chat's doing that thing where it's like jumping. Um uh I think all the numbers have to die to end this once and for all. Yeah, but see, but there's a way around that, maybe because obviously I don't think Elle deserves to die. I don't think Kali deserves to die. You know, that's depressing. Um, hang on, you guys. Again, I got the phlegm. I'm sorry. I'm keeping it down this whole time. When I end this live stream, I am going to be yakking, you guys. So I'm sorry. Oh, I can feel it. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't think that Elle deserves to die. I don't think Kali deserves to die. So maybe the way around it, but I do agree though that there probably can't be anybody with powers left over in the end because that's still like this weird connection to it where it's like we have a person who has powers. Like the world is not going to be like back to normal if there's still people with powers, right? So I kind of get that. So maybe there will be a way where they will lose their powers, but be able to live and truly be able to live normal lives after that without the burden of having powers. Because if they don't have powers, there's no reason for the government to still be chasing them. There's no reason for whatever because they would be of no use. You know what I mean? So maybe that's a way around it where like there's a way that they can like sacrifice their abilities or like I don't know. Um and then that's a way for them to die in a way without dying because like the way you say like the numbers have to die it makes me think of like all the people who have powers have to die because we can't have people with powers running around so remove the powers from the people and maybe that's how it can end. I don't know. um Kali is finally getting to meet Elle's policeman. I've been thinking the same thing. Like, oh, so this is your policeman. Okay. Uh, and getting to meet like everybody else. Yeah. Well, Elle is a serial killer too, so yes to both. Like, yes and no. Like, Elle has always killed people in self defense, right? She has always killed people, usually, if people were going to kidnap her again or try to kill her or take her, whatever. Like, that is when she would kill. But like Kali was specifically like hunting people down, going to their front door and shooting them in the head. You know what I mean? Like there is a difference. There is a difference of when I say like Kali has led a life of being a serial killer pretty much like she has. So that's why I said like perhaps that is why she might think like I sadly went so far down the wrong path for a while that there is really no hope for me and the best thing I can do with my life right now is to like sacrifice myself for the greater good or whatever. That might be what it comes down to. I don't know. Max said the same thing about Vecna's mind layer place when she first arrived. She made it like she was somewhere she wasn't supposed to be. Yeah. Because didn't he say too, like, what are you doing in here, Max? um, do you think they will make a meta joke about how poorly received the Lost Sister was? Maybe. I don't know. Kind of hope they don't, but they might. Or they'll make a joke about like where she's been this whole time or something, you know what I mean? Um Yeah, Kali was trying to fight against a corrupt system. Her intentions were noble. Um, and yeah, and that's what I'm saying too. Like when people say, "Oh, but she like kind of agrees with Henry." It's like yes and no. Like she's not out to destroy society and take over the world. Like you know what I mean? Like I cannot see her siding with that because her motivations were always super personal. Like she has no reason to want to hurt like innocent people in society. Like it just doesn't that doesn't make sense to me. Um yeah, Elle's been through enough. Um for sure. Yeah, losing their powers uh when the dimension is permanently closed off and living without their powers is a better conclusion than dying. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know. I doubt they would kill Eleven and Will. They said it's not that type of show. It would also destroy everyone else. Dimension X exploding and taking away the power seems more likely. Mhm. Exactly. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. Like maybe that is the ending. Maybe we just maybe we just came up with the ending. I don't know. But but it does seem likely and it would be nice, right? Um and that would truly feel like the end, right? Um yeah. Um the Duffers said to pay attention to seasons 1 and 2. Both of those seasons ended on a hopeful note. Um Yeah, but a hopeful note that also had a little hint of mystery left over, right? So I don't know if they're still gonna if they're gonna opt to end with a little bit of mystery again. Probably not. God. Because it should be the end of the show. But I do like the idea of maybe giving you a little bit of something to think about forever. Like, you know what I mean? A little bit of a note to end on that's like, about something. I don't know. That could be kind of fun. But to like, in order to just keep theories going forever and stuff like that. Um, but yeah. Um, and yeah, because someone else said, what was it? That it would destroy everyone else if like 11 or Will died. And that's like what the Duffers have said, like how they're very careful about killing people because when you kill people, you have to think about the ramifications of those deaths. And killing someone like 11 or Will would cause huge ramifications for the rest of the cast of characters, right? And this is the last season, 4 episodes left. They don't have time to explore the ramifications of the deaths of these characters, which I don't think, they would have to cram all of that into like the 40-minute epilogue that they've teased or something. And that's not enough time to go through grieving the deaths of Will or 11, right? So I don't think that they could do that either. Um yeah, they all talk about a reunion 20 years down the line. They are definitely leaving a little tease. Yeah, probably something. There'll be something that can eventually rear its ugly head again 20 years from now. I don't know. But hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to take out. Um all right. So it's been so long. Let's Go back to the trailer. All right, we got Mr. What's It in the rain here. So I'm going to try not to talk about too much because I'm 2 hours and 10 minutes in. I've talked about a lot of the stuff that I really care about so far. So let's keep it going though. So there's this whole thing, like there's so many different like weird gates we're seeing. And then there's also, take a look here, there's melting goo all over the lab in the upside down. And this is interesting. I didn't notice it at first, right? But you can see it all. Look at all of this. It's all like bubbly, like paint like looking melting goo that is happening. And it seems like, because this thing looks like a freaking fireball. I don't know if this thing is actually on fire or something and it's causing stuff to melt, or if this has to do with the dimensions melding together, or like I don't know, like some like the wall breaking down between them, or who knows. Don't know what's going on with this, but the black in it does look like it's the mind flare particles going crazy or something like that. So let's keep going. This whole section was kind of cool with the bullets going to the beat of the music. Then we got like, you know, a little humorous moment there with that dialogue. Again, so Max and Holly running around and everything, escape from Camazotz. They're clearly trying to escape. It looks like we might be getting another sort of season 2 callback with Demodogs attacking the hospital, which I think is going to be giving us a lot of deja vu of the Demodogs attacking the lab. Which is crazy because they already paralleled that in season 4 with Hopper getting chased by the Demodog in Russia. Like that was a total parallel and callback to Bob's death. So it looks like they're doing it again. And so it's just like, how much clearer can it be that season 2 is the blueprint, you guys? That like season 2 was just peak. And like ever since, they have to keep digging back into the season 2 playbook, my friends. Okay? Like that is what that is what it is. It's like, well, looks like we might have to do some of that again, because that was good. That was good. We got like, what else can we do? We got to do that again. That was good, right? So we got Will clearly using his powers again in some way. It'll be interesting to see how he uses them now, aside from that moment where he, you know, channeled it. It's like now actually being able to turn it on and off. So we got this shot of Mike and Eleven, which I know some people are a little bit on the fence about. Like, is this a tense moment? Is it whatever? Does it seem like there's some sort of friction between them here? I don't know. But I mean, it looks like she is about to go into battle again or something. They're all about to go into some sort of battle. I would assume things are going to be tense. And he does hold her shoulder, and she puts her hand over his as well. So it does kind of seem like a moment of assurance to me. Like he's a little bit worried, but he's like, because look, there's a little shot of a smile there to be like, okay, like you're going to be all right. Or another one of those like Mike, like you have to trust me moments that we've seen before. Or at least that's what I'm hoping, because I do like them together. So we got another Demogorgon. See like the Demogorgons in the hospital. We've seen this shot before. And then again here we have, so I'm just doing like a quick review of the trailer now, and then I will go back to the chat and see what we're saying. But again, now here, everything is melting. Look at this. You can see these are the stairs in Hawkins' lab, and it is melting down. Whatever is happening. Let me go back here. Yeah. Everything is melting. They're on the staircase, and there's like holes in the staircase. Things are just melting everywhere. I have no idea what is going on with that. We see Mike and Dustin reunite. They're in the Upside Down. Elle is here. right? Um, Elle using her powers. Again, this shot of someone falling into Dimension X. My money, again, I think, is that it's Holly or Max, whoever, because we know that they're the ones going through what I believe are the dimension doors that were foreshadowed by Mike, and that they're going to be going through a bunch of them and eventually open one to Dimension X. And one of them is going to be fallen through. And what will happen to them when they get there? No idea. It's as much of a mystery to me as anything else. But here we go again. And I love the way the Demodog just runs right by Vicky. Vicky just run. Vicky's just like, ah! Just moves out of the way. But yeah, so we got, look at this. This is giving season 2, you guys. Again, because it looks like we got military or something shooting after them in the hospital. Yep, it's such a throwback. And then there's this, right? So there's this really crazy, scary moment here of it seeming like Vecna or Henry, or he has many personas. It seems like he's being unable to control all of his personas anymore, and he's glitching. He's literally malfunctioning because he's being Mr. What's-It. He's being Vecna. He's also, Henry the orderly. He's number 1. You know what I mean? He's like all these things. And that's the outfit we see him in there with the blood splatters. That's Henry number 1 from in the lab. And then we see him switching to, this looks like Mr. What's-It, right? And then back and back and back and forth, right? And then we eventually see him turning into Vecna there again. So I think that is really interesting to me. Like when I saw that shot, I was like, ooh, I'm like, that is like creepy. That's like scary. Like Jamie's acting. I mean, yeah, look at his acting there. The face, oh my God. Like, and I think people also pointed out, I don't know how true it is, but they got like a good screenshot where it kind of looks like he has the black veins of the mind flayer possession in him, perhaps. And he's fighting that or whatever, like who knows. So then Holly possibly coming face to face with Vecna there, the true Henry, or the version of Henry she has yet to meet. Again, this explosion coming from the lab, I'm not sure what this is. If it's something that is going to cause the destruction of the worlds, the dimensions, or the melding and blending of the dimensions, I do not know, but it looks like it's like a spell or something that's being cast all over Hawkins, right? There's the library again, right? All over the town, above Hopper. Ooh, wait. That looks like it was going straight for the wall. Is that the church they were at right there? And then the wall is right there? And it hits the wall? Maybe whatever this is breaking down the wall? Who knows? But so then we get this awesome clip right here of Kali attacking a military guy at the lab in the Upside Down, which I think is super cool. Oh, excuse me, burping. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's because I'm hungry. So I am kind of zooming through all of this, and then I'm going to cut back to the chat. We'll talk some more, and then we'll start to wrap up. But so I love this shot of Kali attacking this guy. because it does seem like this gave me a hint of like, okay, they're gonna try to give her some awesome stuff to do, maybe some really cool moments that endear her to the fans and make people like her and want to root for her, hopefully. But this is awesome. And I'm not sure, what she's doing, but I saw people on Twitter say, Elle asked her to help and she got to taking people out, like, or whatever, just immediately. So I love that. It's just still so crazy that I'm watching a Stranger Things trailer with Kali in it and knowing from what the Duffers have said that she's playing some sort of important role. Like, that's crazy. I don't know what is happening here. It looks like a laundromat being set on fire or exploding. I don't know what's going on there. Is that a laundromat? Because it looks like a laundromat. Now this is what I think is shock jock. It looks like maybe they're putting up all the voltage and frying a Demogorgon for whatever reason. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to use the Demogorgon to open a gate right there, or maybe I've seen people say that they're doing it to like revive a dead Demogorgon so that Will can control it somehow or something. I mean, there's so many theories. I don't know, but I'm assuming that this is from Shock Jock, and that is what the title is referring to, not Steve or Robin dying, because I know there's like the radio situation, but maybe it's because it's related to the radio tower or whatever. And then we get this quote, right? You die, I die from Steve. And then you die, I die from Dustin to Steve. I'm telling you right now, the fact that they put that in the trailer means that both of them are 100% safe. They would not put that in the trailer. And I know that that is a callback to season 3 in the Russian elevator. Yeah, they're not going to put that in the trailer if either of them are dying. They're just not. I think they're safe. And I think the Duffers on Fallon the other night with the Steve Funko Pop thing falling off the desk and everything, I think they're just trolling. I don't know how it's going to go. Maybe Steve will have another close call, but I do not think he's going to die. And then again, see, look at all of this melting goo. And is that Nancy and Jonathan getting pushed away? I think so. Again, I don't know what the goo and the melting could be. It looks like it's hot probably wherever they are. I don't know. But I don't know. Elle obviously using her powers in the Upside Down. And then there's this whole shot here where we see Kali behind Elle in the cemetery or near that church, I think, doing some sort of storm is going on. There you go. You can get a good shot of them there. Elle with her powers and Kali there behind her. Not sure what's going on there. I had like the worst sinking suspicion when I started to allow myself to consider the idea of Kali being evil. And I was like, what if all of this is like an illusion Kali's putting on? And then it turns out like because she's evil and she was like fighting against Elle or whatever. I don't know. It's stupid, but that was like a terrible thought I had at this moment. But I don't think so. I don't know what's going on though. And let's just get to the end of this trailer and then we'll circle back. Hopper, and then yeah, this shot here, right? It looks like one dimension's down there and then the other dimension is up here and everything is cracking. And then this shot of Vecna, it clearly looks like he's in the place where all the kids are being held. And I do wonder if this is like the Mind Flayer's lair or whatever. And this is because does it look like he's bowing? I can't tell if it looks like he's bowing. I don't know. Maybe we find out that he is subservient to the Mind Flayer or whatever. It's like another twist. Like they already told us that the Demogorgons are subservient to Vecna, and now we're going to find out Vecna's subservient to the Mind Flayer in the end. I don't know. But so that's the trailer. So we've gone through the whole trailer, at least. Thank God. But yeah, quickly just thinking of this. I started to fear that um I started to fear that somehow Kali is never going to meet everybody else. And I hate that. And I'm like, what if they somehow make it so that Kali is always missing everybody? Possibly mostly Steve is what I'm is what I'm thinking about here. Cuz think about it, like in the full trailer, like that has like a slightly different edit that we can see. You, if you pull up Netflix and go into the trailers and more section of Stranger Things, you can see this version where we see that Kali does make it to the radio station in The Right Side Up, right? So I'm just like, she's at a radio station, right? She's got to be meeting everybody. She's got to be meeting the gang, right? And we know that volume 1 left off with them saying, come meet us. We need help. Steve, Jonathan, Nancy, and Dustin were radioing Hopper and Elle for help. And they were at the church near the wall. And they were like, come, we need our help. We need your help. And, before Hopper was going to make that sacrifice, he told Elle, all right, you're going to take this. You're going to go meet up with Nancy and the others. So it's like, clearly that's still next on their itinerary, right? That's next on their goal. And I fear that now that they've found Kali, it's going to take them a little longer and they're going to break her out of the lab and whatever. And they're going to finally make it to the church and they will not be there. And Steve, Dustin, and all of them, they're not going to be there yet because they're going to go to the lab, because that's the last thing that they discovered, was that the lab is at the center of this circle, right? And so Dustin said, like, I don't know what it means, but I think we should find out. So they're going to leave somehow, even though they don't have Steve's car. It's in the wall. So that's one of the reasons why they needed Elle's help. But maybe they're going to walk there, whatever. They're going to go to the lab. So Hopper and Elle and Kali, they're going to go to the church. They're not going to be there. This whole little situation that is happening here is going to happen when they get to the church. Don't know why. Maybe it is Vecna being aware of everything that's happening. Maybe he knows that the gang asked them to meet them there for help and he's going to show up and cause this whole storm or whatever. Who knows? But then, so there again, I don't think they're going to meet there, unfortunately. I do not think that Kali is going to meet the older teens and Dustin at the church. And that's annoying. So, however, I do think that she could meet them at the lab in the Upside Down, because I remember clearly seeing some leaks, like paparazzi photo leaks, from back when they were filming, and there was a shot of Hopper, and Elle in a Humvee driving to the lab, and you can tell they were pulling into the lab, and there were the upside down vines all over the place, and there was someone in the car with them, who we now know is Kali, because this person, you couldn't really make out who it was, but they had the outfit. They had the white turtleneck that goes down in the little V. So now we know that they somehow break Kali out of the lab and they have her in a Humvee somehow, and they're driving to Hawkins' lab in the Upside Down. So maybe they get to the church and they radio them and they're like, okay, yeah, we're here. Like, a big storm happened. You guys obviously aren't here. Where are you now? Oh, we're at the lab. Then they go and meet them at the lab. Hopefully. I don't know. But it's like, she has to meet them. She has to meet everybody else. I cannot imagine the Duffers bringing her back and not wanting. They love dynamics, right? They love playing around with new dynamics and unexpected dynamics. So I can't imagine them not wanting to throw her into the mix with everybody else. Some of the humor that could come from that, of like, this is my sister. Sister? Like, there's been another one of you this whole time? Like, what is going on? Like, that could sort of be the joke of like, the lost sister joke of never acknowledging her this whole time, of it being like, "Where have you been?" sort of thing. Like, why didn't you ever say anything? You know what I mean? There's so much to be had with that. So I find it really hard to believe that they would never let her interact with anybody else other than Hopper and Elle. Um, but yes, so I'm saying, so we know, I think from that leak or that shot of them, that they do eventually go to the lab in the Upside Down where we know Steve and Dustin and Jonathan and Nancy are at some point. But then again, I said we also see Kali in the Right Side Up at the radio station. And I feel like it might be a situation of like, whenever Kali's in the right side up, everybody else is in the upside down. And then whenever everybody's in the upside down, she's in the right side up or whatever. And there's like not a lot of interaction between her and the rest of the gang. And I will be so disappointed. I will be so sad. I will be so sad if that happens. She needs to meet everybody, especially Steve. But she needs to meet everybody. Ah. All right. So let me go back up because I said a lot. And then we're gonna probably start to wrap up, which will be right around 3 hours, similar to the last live. So all right, here we go. Yeah, I hope the Fallon stuff was just a joke and Steve remains with us. He will. I think he will. I get that they didn't want to bring Kali back for seasons 3 and 4, but that didn't mean they couldn't mention her. Like Elle could have done an honorable mention to Kali at in her school project. Yeah, I mean, like some sort of mention would have been nice. Like as I said in my season 2 video, they did at least do that nice touch with the set design with Elle keeping the mask. In season 3 on her wall and in season 4 on her wall. So it's like we know that she was still thinking of her and was sentimental about that, I guess, in order to keep that mask. So who knows? I mean, maybe we'll find out that she did at least tell people about them. Like it seemed like Hopper knew who she was, which is why he like stepped aside and allowed Elle to walk into the room, right? I think he probably knew about it. I think we know that Mike knows about her probably because especially with the orange mohawk theory. Did we talk about that before? How when Max said that she knows that Mike wanted to dye his hair, let me get myself out of here. That Mike wanted to dye his hair a bright orange mohawk, and people started making the connection that Elle told him about her time with Kali and her gang and described Axel, and he was like, "That sounds awesome," or something, and then wanted to do his hair like that. So that's kind of cool. So I think she has told like Hopper and Mike probably about Kali. Like they probably won't be as surprised to meet her, but everybody else will. Let's see. All the melting stuff to me reads like a dimension becoming unstable. Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know if we want to get into all of this conversation again because it'll take a long time. Someone said Mike and 11 broke up months ago. I'm calling it for Byler. You guys know my stance on Byler. I don't see it happening. And also, if Mike and 11 broke up, over the months, I find it weird that they would use that as the uh um flashback storytelling device of like, "Oh, by the way, now we're gonna show you that they really broke up." I don't know. It's just something about it just seems weird. And again, the way they've been doesn't totally read to me as people who are broken up. Um, but I think that their relationship has seemed more mature this season, honestly. I think they've reached this point where, I loved seeing them have that conversation in episode 1 because I feel like we've been robbed of a lot of that. Like I've always wanted to see them just have conversations, you know what I mean? And just be honest and open with each other and whatever. And we still have yet to see the scene of 11 before she goes into the tub with Mike at the cabin, and they seemed very close in that scene as well. So I don't know about that, you guys. I don't know about them springing a sudden revelation of them having been broken up this whole time. I don't know. Um, let's see. That VH1 glitch scene is the most fascinating part of the trailer. Yeah, it was really cool. Um, hmm. Vecna in the demos are like Thanos when he had most of the stones. They aren't killing unless they have to. They are injuring but not killing anyone who isn't one of Kay's people. Interesting. Yeah, the Upside Down definitely is becoming unstable. I can agree with that. Um, the explosion is collapsing the wall around the Upside Down and showing that they are actually in Dimension X. Ah, all right. That's one. Um, do you think Mr. and Mrs. Wheeler are going to be in danger when the Demodogs attack at the hospital, right? Because remember, they're still there and very hurt. That is true. Who knows? Maybe that's when they'll officially kill Ted. He'll get mauled at the hospital. I don't know. Oh my gosh. I just had a horrible vision of him being ready to be discharged. It's like, okay, Ted, we're ready to let you go. And he's like, thanks. And then suddenly, oh my God. That is awful. Oh my gosh. Um, my goodness. It would suck if Kali never got to meet Elle's own little posse. That was a fun aspect, uh, to write in the story I did years ago, right? Like, that's such a fan fiction-y thing, though, right? Like, they can't I feel like they can't resist the potential for the fun to play with dynamics there of, like, throwing Kali into the mix with the group. Um, and I think it is also, like, a fun reversal, right? Like, Elle got to meet Kali's gang, and now Kali has to get to meet Elle's gang, you know what I mean? She heard a lot about Elle's life, you know what I mean, and her policeman and whatever, and she's gonna get to meet the people that she left her for, you know what I mean? Like, "These are the people that I returned to save," you know what I mean? And Kali's gonna get to see a little bit of Elle's life and her relationships with these people, um, almost maybe helping her further realize how nice of a life Elle has been able to have, and I feel like that's why, if you look up the trailer on Netflix, the shot of her in the radio station just sort of walking up to the window and just sort of watching Elle, like, she looks kinda sad, but also kinda, like, shocked a little bit that this is the kinda stuff Elle just does. Um, she goes into the void, she does these things, she uses her powers all the time to search for people and help and do all this stuff. Um, you know? I don't know, but Metro Gaming HD 92 says, "Hi. Hello." Um, I know, I'm disappointed Kali didn't speak in the trailer because I find her accent soothing. I guess it builds up hype. Yeah, I think people said again the fact that they never had her say anything in the trailer is another red flag that they're killing her. It's like anything she says wasn't even important enough to include in the trailer. She's just another body in the mix here. She's gonna die. I hate that. Um, let's see. Ted will say something like Jiminy Crickets right before getting eaten. Oh my goodness. Uh yeah, Steve will just take a tumble and get a boo-boo, right? Yeah, of course. Of course he will. That's all it is. He gets beat up on some level every season, so something will happen to him and he'll make it out. Because they've cried wolf too many times with Steve now, right? Like he always gets beat up. Like Billy could have almost killed him in season 2. Um, the Russians and everybody could have killed him in season 3. He was really beaten to a pulp. Um, then we got season 4 with the bats and everything. You know, he's had many close calls with whatever. And it is crazy that he does not have a traumatic brain injury at this point. But perhaps maybe that's why he's a little bit dumber these days. You know what I mean? It would make sense. I mean, he has been beat up in the head so many times, so many times to the point where like he probably should have died. So it would make sense. Like if he's not going to have physical um uh evidence of that, because he probably like his face probably should be a little bit rearranged by now. He should not still be perfect looking Joe Keery. He should probably still have like he should probably have a broken nose and like a messed up jaw, like something by now, right? But he doesn't. Every season he comes back looking fine. Um, and so if he's not going to have any physical damage, he probably has some mental damage, maybe a little bit. And that's why he has a lot of these more uh, dumb sort of moments. And he's always the one that needs catching up on with things like, wait, what? Like, slow down, slow down. Like, he's always sort of been like that, but I feel like they really lean into it a lot. So that's what I headcanon. I headcanon that he's that way because he's had so much brain damage from being beat up. So we could use L in the real world to find missing people. Mm-hmm. Plot twist, Steve is a mutant with self-healing powers like Wolverine. Honestly, I mean, how does he keep surviving? I mean, the bats was pushing it. That was pushing it because it's like Eddie's going to die from the bats, but Steve is going to be attacked by them and make it out. It's a little much. It's a little much. My cat is snoring. Oh, you guys. These are my 2 cats. We got Evie and we got Lilo, and they're sleeping back to back right now. I love it when they do that. Oh my gosh. They are like best friends, and Lilo is a stray that we took in from the street. We took him in like a year and a half ago. Our neighbors down the street just didn't want him anymore, and they let him out. And he just kind of came by our house and became friends with Evie in the window. And we gave him some food, and everything, and then the winter got really cold, and it was just cruel to leave him out there, because he kept going away and coming back and going away and coming back. Um, and we were like, "We gotta take him in." And so we took him in, and we had him in a little cage for a while, and they just got along right away. And now there they are. They're so cute. They just they're like little kitty soulmates. They got along so well, just from the get-go. And so I love when they have these little bonding moments. They're so cute. Um, all right. So let's see. I know, poor babies. I felt so bad for Lilo, and we named him that. uh, for him being thrown out of the house like that. It's terrible. Um, are you happy Aid is back? Of course I am, and we've talked about it extensively. I'm sure you're probably just joining the chat now, but of course, this whole thing will be up on my channel as a video that you can get caught up on. And it is almost just about time to start winding down because I am starving and it is almost 3 hours, which is pretty much seeming like the natural cutoff for me, talking about Stranger Things. But yeah, I feel like we talked about a lot of good stuff this time, guys. I feel like this was a really productive one. I felt like the last time I sort of talked a little bit too much about, just silly stuff. I went on my Stolly tangent. We talked about some other stuff. I did my whole like dissertation on my stance on Byler there for a while. Yeah, we were all just in shock the whole time. Exactly. It was coming right off of the Kali cliffhanger, so I was just really talking about that a lot. And we didn't really talk about that much else, but I feel like we really covered everything this time, especially going through the trailer, shot by shot to sort of cover everything, and that was pretty good. And I feel like we did a little bit of an intro, but then I just dove right in and tried to make sure we actually talked about everything. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of moments where I haven't been talking during this chat. So I feel like we've done a lot this time. Are you doing another live after volume 2? Yes, and probably Saturdays seem to work best for me, I think, and it also gives me enough time to sit with the episodes and a little bit of time to maybe rewatch and gather my thoughts. So that would be the 27th, December 27th, after volume 2. Give me a day and a half to sit with it. I will probably go live to discuss volume 2 the 27th, 3 o'clock my time. And then also the Saturday following the finale, January 3rd. Yeah, I plan on hopping back on here to talk about it. Because like I said, it's the only way I can do it. Could you imagine me sitting down in front of a camera trying to say all these thoughts and then me sitting down and having to edit all of it and try to get it up in like a timely manner? Like I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I just can't. And I feel like this is a much more engaging, fun way to review it and talk about it and everything. It's way more fun. So Kali would be better for Steve than Nancy. I'm just saying, like, I'm that meme. I'm just saying, like, he does love a girl who like kind of challenges him a little bit, right? And like he needs that. And I think Kali could be that, right? She would be very much, I can see the banter. I can see it. I can see the vision. I can see the banter. I can see the the flirtation. I can see it. And I hope we get like just one crumb. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of these people who's like, Stali is gonna be canon. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that like this is gonna happen. I'm just saying that just seeing them interact once will be enough. You know what I mean? Just let them meet. Please. That is all I'm asking. I just want to see it. I just want to see this come to fruition in some way. You know what I mean? Just like let them meet. At the very least, because then the people who are like anti-Stali out there, they keep saying, they haven't even met each other. And it's like, hopefully that will change, and then they can't use that as an excuse. And we can hopefully have, a fun little fanship there at the very least. That's what I hope. Been enjoying the discussions. Only found your channel a couple months ago. Been stewing in my season 2 love all alone since 2017 until now. Yes. I mean, I kind of felt the same way, honestly. And here we go. Jacob K says, "Do you think she might betray 11?" Oh, Jacob, we talked about that extensively earlier on. You can scrub backwards and check that out. But there we go, guys. Another example, though. That is the theory. That is what people are thinking and assuming, that she might betray her. And I can't see it. I don't want to see it. If that were to happen, I would be beyond upset and disappointed. Because talk about being pointless, then all of my defense of Kali over the last 8 years would also be pointless, because in the end she just turns out to be bad and like not even really worth it, like in the end of like being a character, like a good character. Like she's just evil and ends up turning her back on 11 and being awful for everybody in Hawkins, like does nothing to help them. That would not be good. That would not be good. So it would be a betrayal of Kali's character even. Yes. And like I said, like going back to the article that the Duffers, with the Duffers and Kali that we looked at earlier, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna they said they want to do justice to both Kali and Linnea, and I do not think that doing justice to the character and the actress would be making her the most hated character of all time. I just don't see that being what they want to do with her. The Duffers will be making Kali justice out of respect for you specifically, driving traffic towards the least watched season of their show. Exactly. Exactly. That's what it is. Oh my gosh, imagine. But it has been pretty cool though since Kali's reveal, like getting a couple new comments under my video essay that just say like, "Well, this has aged well." And it's like, you have no idea how badly I was hoping and praying that the comment section would hopefully eventually look like that, because there was a very real chance that the comment section could have turned into, "Well, this aged like milk." Like, you know what I mean? About like, Kali never coming back, and or whatever, like season 2 not having any importance on the final season, whatever, like all these things. There was a very real chance that the video could have aged like milk and everything I said about Kali didn't matter and all the defense was for nothing. But then again, I still worry it could still age like milk slightly if she ends up being evil. So, But anyway, but it's more so the fact that, I was saying that I hope Kali comes back in season 5. She should come back, like, whatever. That aspect of it ended up aging well. So I was very happy. I was so nervous. Because again, like I really did put myself out there in that video, making these statements and saying this stuff and hoping for this stuff. And there was a very real chance that it could not have happened. And so I am so relieved to be receiving those types of comments because, like, whoo, I really did take a chance with that. But again, you guys, I was just so confident. Like, I was just so like I just knew in my heart of hearts that like season 2 is that season and like that Kali has to come back. Like she just has to. And so now she is back and it is crazy again. It is crazy that in just a few days I'm going to be sitting down in front of my TV knowingly watching episodes that feature Kali. Like I cannot believe, I really can't, that I am getting my long overdue follow-up to The Lost Sister in a few days. But that again is very nerve-wracking. What are they going to do with her character? Are they going to do anything that could possibly result in more hate for her character? Am I going to have to be gearing up to fight on the front lines again based off of what we get from her in the next few episodes? You know what I mean? Who knows? Have you been receiving any hate for your views on her and the episode? Surprisingly, no. And I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but surprisingly, no. It has been mostly positive things in the comment section of the video. And I think I've noticed this thing with like online culture, right? Where if someone else says something to give you permission to think a certain way about something, you will lean into that. So I feel like, yeah, herd mentality is real, yeah. But I feel like that is kind of the thing. I feel like I was this person who decided to step forward and put these thoughts about season 2 out there into the world. And then it's like, oh, someone else is like giving us permission to speak well of season 2. So it's like, okay, let's all like speak positively of season 2 now in the comment section, I feel like that might be what's happening. There's been a couple people who have been honest and been like, yeah, season 2 is still my least favorite even after watching your video, but I still accept that, I see and understand that it's important, but I still just don't like it as much. And I'm like, that's fine. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to tell people that season 2 has to be their favorite season of the show, just at least to be able to, see and appreciate it for what it did, because I feel like that was pretty much like my thesis was like, everybody hates season 2 so like irrationally or like just for these reasons that don't even really make sense when you consider everything that it did, and so that was sort of my thing of like, let's not just be so quick to write season 2 off for, these reasons like the Lost Sister or the pacing or like whatever it is, you know what I mean? That it's less flashy, less memorable for certain, for reasons like it's aesthetic and, whatever, like people write season 2 off for these things and belittle it and don't think as highly of it, even though on paper, season 2 reads as like the most incredible turning point for the show. Genuinely. Like if you wrote down everything that season 2 did, it would be like, holy crap, how is this not the most like revered season of the show? Like it gave us everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like it literally gave us everything. Like how is it that somehow its reputation does not match what it actually did. You know what I mean? That was my thesis. And so if you still don't really enjoy the season for whatever reason after, potentially being made aware of this, then that's fine. You know what I mean? We all have our own taste, but it was more so just the fact that so many people couldn't even see the good in season 2. It was just like, it sucks. It's awful. Terrible season of television. And it's like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, like someone has to like speak in favor of this season. My God. And I've said before, like no one was doing it. Even now, there's been like so many season 2, not even season 2, but like Stranger Things retrospective videos coming out from other creators. And a lot of the time, even in their season 2 sections, they don't do it justice. They're just sort of like, yeah, it's a step down from season 1, like blah, 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 but it like still okay. And they don't really give it too much more thought. And it's always just kind of like, dang, like why is no one really like giving season 2 the flowers it deserves? Yeah. So that's that's my thoughts on all of that. But it has been, I am very glad that I was able to get that video out, as well as, get it out prior to season 5, and that things have gone the way they've gone so far. Like, thank God, because I was really sweating there in the lead up to season 5. But yeah, so relieved that Kali came back, but now nervous to see what they do with her. I really hope it's good. You know what I mean? Because this really is a huge moment of like bringing back such a controversial character in the show from the worst episode of the show. And I've seen people assume that it's going to go Game of Thrones, because of this. Like, oh my God. Like there was an article that said the fate of the finale of Stranger Things could hinge on the worst episode of the show because of bringing Kali back. And I'm like, and then that's why I'm like, depending on how it ends, if the ending of the show isn't that great or whatever, people are going to blame it on the fact that they brought Kali back. That they are. They're going to be like, oh, they brought the sister back. And like the last season was just so bad because of like whatever. They brought her back and this happened and then whatever. And the ending sucked or whatever. You know what I mean? It's going to get all mashed together like that. So that'll be fun. Oh my goodness. The butterfly scene of the lost sister deserves an Oscar. I do love that scene. It is beautiful. Season 2 gets berated for the immediate risks the Duffers took, which they then backtracked from quite a bit. Yep. And you know what? And that is honestly true because I read the introduction excerpt from the season 3 script book. I read both because I was curious. Because obviously like what they said in the season 2 one about like season 2 being the most important season and all this stuff, I was like, okay, now I'm curious to see what they say about the other seasons. And they had mentioned that like right at the beginning of the introduction to season 3, they said like going into season 3 we were a little bit shaken by the stumble that was the lost sister. Like they said that. And I was like, but you know what I mean? But I'm saying, but like, I think it is clear that season 3, because they go on to say like, but we still wanted to take risks and we wanted to make it different, which I mean, they did make it different. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they did do that. But I think it was clear that they made sure season 3 had nothing to do with any of the other test subjects because of the response to the lost sister. And I feel like that's just one small reason why people who tend to love season 2, including The Lost Sister, tend to not like season 3 or tend to like season 3 the least, because it really does feel like it was almost designed to be the polar opposite of season 2 specifically. Um, and that, yeah, that's kind of just interesting, right? Season 2 was called too similar to season 1 in tone and aesthetic or whatever. Okay, we're gonna completely change the tone and aesthetic. Season 2 got hate for The Lost Sister. Okay, we're not gonna talk about the lab or the other test subjects again at all this season. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I think, at least for me, that's at the root of why I don't personally connect to season 3 as much or enjoy it as much um, as some of the other seasons, but especially season 2, because it really does feel like it was just so different. Like, the whiplash, I still cannot describe the level of the whiplash I experienced watching season 3 for the first time. It was literally like like the whole time I was like, what is this? Like, this is my new favorite show. Like, this was the show that I just deemed my new favorite show. Like, this is not what I called my new favorite show. So yeah, so that's me with that. But um we're like Joyce now, relieved that our child is back, yet paranoid about her future. Yep. That's me with Collie and just all of the season 2 vibes and everything in general. It's like, "Oh, feels like we're back, but now I'm scared." Um um Yeah, I don't wanna get into, like, season 3 hate or anything, because I don't wanna I never wanna be that person, right? Because it's like, I've dealt with people saying stuff like that about season 2 forever, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna be coming on here saying, you know, crazy inflammatory things about season 3, um but yeah, I mean, just to know that when season 3 did come out, I mean, I was, to myself, at least, in my house, to my mom and everything, I was a hater. I was a hater. I will be honest. I could, oh, I was it was I told you, I cannot express to you the level of disappointment that I had personally felt. I felt personally victimized by season 3 at the time. Um, and as I said in my last live, like, upon rewatch for season 5, I did not mind it as much, you know what I mean? I was like, "Okay." I feel like in the moment, it was just so jarring. Um, but it's like, now that you know what's coming and I am aware of what happens in the season and whatever, it's not as difficult to get through as it was on that first watch, which was literally the worst experience I've ever had watching television. Like, I stand on that. Like, that was, I do not wish the feeling that I experienced on anybody. It was, oh my god. But anyway, but so because of that, it was hard for me to rewatch season 3 sometimes, because I just so closely associated it to those feelings of like, oh, I was just like crawling out of my skin watching the season. But upon rewatch this time, I was like, okay, like, I know what's coming. I know that there's this massive tone shift. I know that they adjusted the style of writing to fit the tone shift and like all this stuff that I still don't like. But since they've at least made an effort in the seasons like following to sort of get back to um the stuff that I had loved about the show, cuz again, I am always speaking personally from my own opinion. I'm not speaking like objectively. Like, I talk about the things that I love and why I love them, and all that stuff. So yeah, so for me, seeing that they ended up eventually making an effort to sort of circle back to the version of this show that I love, it's making it a little bit easier for me to like not be so hard on season 3 in retrospect, because it's like, well, all right, then that was just like a weird, odd one out detour season that they just did for fun, I guess. You know what I mean? Um, and then it's like, all right. And I guess it's fun to have it in there, I guess. And it's just like a little break, sort of little bridge season between 1 and 2 that feel very connected, and then 4 and 5 that feel very connected. And then there's just like season 3 in the middle that was like this thing that they did, you know? Um, which I don't even think the Duffers would object to that assessment of it, you know? Because I feel like I remember reading an interview about them in the lead up to season 4, where they said that season 3 was pretty much them just like playing in a sandbox of like all these dynamics they've established, right? Like Dustin and Steve and like all this stuff, and just deciding like, all right, let's just have fun with all of this now. And they themselves said that season 3 was very light on plot, especially compared to season 4. But I still think that part of me feels like they should have advanced the lore more than they did in season 3. And then they realized that they wasted a little bit of time with season 3, that they should have been expanding on some of the lore. Because as I said, though, in my video essay, a lot of what we get in season 3 is just like a little bit more of what we saw with the flaying of Will, except now we're flaying more people in Hawkins, and Billy's the main host and whatever. And we have a physical version of the Mind Flayer, like that's new, but it's not, it's still the Mind Flayer though. You know what I mean? And we learned that it wants, Elle's power to open gates, and that's how she lost her powers. You know what I mean? But again, like all that happens in the finale, like or end of episode 7 into the finale. Like, so a lot of the season is just sort of, I don't know. It's a little, it feels like a little bit of a break. And so I feel like that is one of the reasons why season 4 is as long and supersized as it is, and they said that in this specific article. I'll have to find it, but I remember they said like, yeah, what was I going to say? They said, yeah, like season 3 is extremely light on plot. And now we realized, okay, like we have to start revealing things. We actually have to start like, developing all of this lore and mythology further now in season 4. And I'm just like, yeah, you probably should have done that in season 3, but instead you took this weird break. Like, you know what I mean? It's just sort of weird. And then that's why season 4 had to be as long as it was and had to exposition dump all this stuff. Like, it does make me wonder what season 3 might have been like if they didn't go the route they went. Like if season 3 was a little bit more of what we saw in season 4, like more of a lead up to Vecna, and then season 4 we start off with the killings and whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe there could have been something else in season 3 than the flayed, and the flayed and the Russians. That's what we got. And I've said before, I think in the last live, I said that all we really learned about in the Russians for the entirety of season 3 is that they're here and they want to open the gate. We spent all season, and that is how much we learned about the Russians, pretty much, was that they want to open that gate. They want to try to weaponize the Upside Down. And they already told us that in the first few minutes of the season. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, I feel like That's also one of the reasons why season 3 felt like such a disappointment at the time, was that it really felt like they did not utilize the time well enough. And that's what was why it was such a disappointment. It was like we waited 2 years, 2 years, and it had just become my favorite show following season 2, and I was just, so excited to see where they'd take it, and I just fell so deeply in love with the show from those first 2 seasons, and then it was like, we're not really gonna develop all the stuff that I became really invested in, like, with the lore and the other test subjects and whatever, and the tone's gonna be totally different, and the vibe's gonna be totally different, and whatever, and we're not gonna push the lore of the story forward that much, you know what I mean? And it was just sort of like, "Oh, oh." You know what I mean? And then that sort of, like, soured me on the show for a while, which is why, um, season 4 needed to work really hard to win me back over personally, which it did just enough with the Hawkins plot. But there was still a lot of stuff in season 4, like residual leftover season 3 kind of stuff that still made it so that I couldn't fully love season 4, like, you know what I mean? And I said ever since season 2, I haven't been able to fully love a season, like, love everything about the season. Um, and so that's what I was really hoping I'd be able to get with season 5, like, just one more season, like seasons 1 and 2, where I love everything about it. Um, and I don't know if I can say that entirely about season 5, because, like, upon first watch, I sort of felt that way. There was, like, nothing I, like, super objected to or anything, but upon rewatch and upon, like, thinking about it more, it is sort of like the writing I do have a little bit of a problem with. Um, it is very different than it was in the past with all the exposition and whatever. It makes things feel a little bit more flat. It makes things feel a little less engaging. Um, and so there is that. But as far as, like, plot stuff and everything, I don't think there's anything that I am not interested in or care about. So that's good. But you win some, you lose some, right? It's like I'm cool with the plot going on and stuff, and obviously having Kali back and all this amazing stuff, and but at the same time, we lost a little bit of the quality of the writing a little bit, or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like, you can't have it all, I guess. I don't know. Um, fans, season 2 is a repeat of season 1. Boo. Also fans, season 3. We're getting the Mind Flayer again. It's great. Yeah, it's weird. There's like a weird, I don't know what the right word is to describe that, but I don't understand it either. Of like, it seems like hypocritical of like when people criticize season 2 for that, but then usually those people love season 3. And it's like, okay, so then why don't you love season 2? Like, it was like, or why don't you at least like see and understand that so much of what happens in season 3 is only happening because of season 2. It's like, well, okay, I don't get it, but all right. But yes, considering the limited run of the series overall, 3 felt like a lot of wasted time. Like, it did. That's what it felt to me. And it's like, we only get 8 episodes, 8 or 9 episodes. We have to wait so long between seasons to come back with a season like season 3, where it's just like, just kind of having fun. It was like, oh my God. No, oh my God. I'm like, oh, that's why it was a letdown, because it just didn't really um develop it as much as I had hoped, and then on top of that, it just felt completely different. So yeah. Um and again, and I do think, like someone said, Kali wasn't pointless, the Russians were. Um I am curious to see if the Russians come into play at all again in volume 2 or the finale, because if they don't, then what are people then going to say about seasons 3 and 4. You know what I mean? Because that's when we're really gonna find out if it's just a vendetta against Kali or if people are actually being, like, objective with their thoughts, because it's like, if the Russians never come up again in the final season, then it will be like, will people think that upon rewatch that, like, season 3 feels pointless because it's all the Russians, and then Hopper's plot in season 4 will feel pointless because the Russians never came back in the end, you know what I mean? I wonder. I wonder. Uh, but I feel like they should be mentioned on some level in order to make it feel like it is all connected. But there's a very real chance that they have moved on from the Russians. And then what does that mean for seasons 3 and Hopper's plot in season 4? Like, what does that mean for the legacy of those seasons, you know? I don't know. It just makes me wonder. Um, yeah, I hope that Kali gets to wear something else too, but I don't think she will, unfortunately. I'm still gutted I didn't get a Punk Kali Funko to go with my Punk L Funko. I know, and, like, I'm sad too. I saw them promoting Funkos for season 5, and I was like, "Where is Kali?" You know what I mean? Like, Derek gets a Funko, but the third remaining test subject does not get her own Funko. I want a Kali Funko. You know? Erica gets a Funko. Like, it's like, come on. Um, anyway, I'm 22 minutes overtime, so I'm probably gonna have to just do a clean break here, you guys. I am starving. I need to eat. My throat is getting sore. I've been talking almost consistently for 3 hours and 22 minutes. Um, and so, yeah, Kali is the most mistreated character in terms of merchandise. I have pretty much all of the Lost Sister merchandise you can find. I have the few shirts they released, and I have a mug that's the same as one of the shirts I wore in my video with just the girls from Kali's gang standing together. I have a mug, and it's an official mug with that on it with them, and it says Stranger Things. Um, so yeah, but I think that's pretty much all of the Lost Sister merch in existence. Um, so yeah, I hope maybe we can end up getting some more after season 5. Like, hopefully, if Kali ends up going over well with fans this time, um, and there's, like, a newfound appreciation for season 2 and that episode and her character, hopefully maybe they'll have a little bit more merch for those of us who have always enjoyed it and her character. So, um, but yeah, so I think that'll do it. I gotta go eat. I don't know what I'm gonna eat. Probably gonna cook or order something. I probably shouldn't order something. I order food out way too much. Um, but yeah, so thank you guys. I feel like this one was really productive. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. We talked nonstop, I feel like. So hopefully this was a pretty good, decent breakdown of the trailer, or at least, skim through of the trailer. And I think we talked a lot about stuff in relation to the trailer and what might be coming in volume 2. I really don't know. I feel like, and I still have no idea how they're going to end the show, like what this finale episode is going to be like. I feel like after volume 2, I maybe should hopefully we should hopefully get to the point where we can sort of get an idea of how the show is going to end. But who knows? We might end episode 7 and still have no idea what is going to transpire in the finale. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to formulate, more solid theories about how everything's going to end by the end of volume 2. But I don't know. We'll see. But so much of it is a mystery to me, honestly. But yeah, but we broke down everything that I could possibly break down. I think I shared all my thoughts on what I think and anticipate. I feel like, yeah, so thanks for watching. Can't believe it. In just a few days, volume 2. And then I will see you again the Saturday after Christmas to discuss it. I hope it's good. I hope something tells me Kali might unfortunately, whoop, might unfortunately, sadly be gone by the time we talk again. And I really hope not. But that would be so sad, right? It was like we just got her back and now we lost her forever. She's dead. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that. Like, I really hope she's able to live and we can know that. And we can know that it was all worth it. And she made it through, and that's great. And the theories and the fan fictions can continue the story from there, you know? But if she dies, that'll be very sad. But I am sadly preparing myself for that. But I'm preparing myself for anything. I think you just never know. So yeah, so I will see you guys the Saturday after Christmas to discuss volume 2, and I hope we will be in good spirits. Probably not, but we'll find out. But I just hope it's good. No matter what happens, I just hope it's entertaining. It's hopefully a little bit better written, maybe, I don't know, but that clip they released on Fallon was I don't know about that. A lot of exposition kind of talking again and everything, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll get what we get, and we'll discuss it. So I will see you this time next week, I guess. Oh my god! All right. Bye, everyone.